What's going on? What's going on, everybody? This is David Mitchell here, and welcome back to Fans of Train, episode 81, and it's a Train Galore, Train Galore 18. Got Today magazine.
I like the realism.
That one I'm saving for last because I'm going to talk with about that one.
Snack time. I like the look.
Already getting cooked up. Got them BNS up. And that
Rock and roll.
G scale right there. Them G scale steam engines. Got 2 tank engines and 2 porters.
Oh, I like it.
So yeah.
Work. Hey, wait, I'm a waifu.
Oh. No wife boots up today, Val.
Hey.
Sorry. Alright. Got a Val out of the room. To be honest, Joshua, if you want to, sorry for everything, but I really am. But I am moving on from that. So, yeah. But let's get back to this. It looked pretty good. Got some cool stuff right here. I'm not going to lie about. Pretty cool. Got them exactly their Alco model, like their MLW M420s. Hashtag 420.
Homer. Sorry, David.
And yes, I'm doing the live stream on the bed because I thought, a little bit different. A little snack on screen.
I think a little bit more intimate. Waifu.
Heck, that incident from a couple weeks ago, you nearly oofed me.
Well, I'm talking about waifu. Hey, I want you to post about waifu.
I will later on.
Is this the reason why you lose some stuff? Because me posting too much waifu?
No.
Yeah, like you don't want to post waifu. Waifu, 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 waifu. Like that.
Very detailed. I'm going through it very quickly because I'm going to see a bright line able to be cut a timing in hit country, if y'all know what I mean. The tank cars right there look cool. I'm not gonna lie, got them cool locomotives too.
Waifu.
I know valid too.
Thank you for calling me your waifu. Waifu.
Also, I got the Lionel train clock in the background.
Yeah, also some locomotives and heyday.
I'm live streaming.
Heyday.
I like the GP30 units right here. They're cool looking. I'm not gonna lie.
Me, I see the GP32 like me. Union Pacific. Damn.
Oh, by the way, the back unit with no cab is what you call a slug unit, Val. This right here is what you call a slug unit.
Cool.
And it's from scale trains, which they're pretty cool looking. Oh, got a mogul! This little locomotive right here.
Gobble up. I like the gobbles.
What do you call a mogul?
Mogul?
Yeah, look it up. But they're not a nickname for Betchy.
Petchy.
No, Betchy.
Betchy.
Good old Betchy.
Good old Betchies. Son for Betchies. Oh. Norfolk and Western.
Yeah, that's the predecessor of Norfolk Southern, which
Nice.
I have never caught any of the NS Heritage unit. Nah. So, yeah. CP30. They got a CXX variant.
CSX
And
is-
yes, CXX usually had GP30s. They got rid of their all around 08, 09.
Poor little baby. Sorry.
Sorry about bed shaking. Bound!
Roro. Sorry, bitches. Sorry, bitches. Betchies. Little bitch. Toss died. I don't want to toss
And by the way, my favorite type of locomotive are 4-axle power. And yet, with Val, Baby Yoda, and Jane, it's snacks time.
Snack time.
I like the cover hopper right here. Now, if they have the an N scale, I'll be down for it, you know? But dear HO, like we're already through the magazine, not even 6 minutes in. RIP KZS.
Ouch.
And look. You remember, we caught these before.
Yep.
We caught the Gray Goat variant that one time.
R.I.P. KCX. Or should I say, poor little pigs.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas, what's up, KCX?
KCS, it's short for Kansas City South.
KCX?
Yeah,
KCS?
KCS.
KCS is where? Jeez.
Not if you're in Texas or the Midwest, no. But yeah. Cool looking intermodal container. Or not intermodal car. Well, car. But yeah. And yet they still use G type of models.
Use it some song.
With probably rarer than a normal model, but they're still late era. Era 10. I might be wrong, but hopefully I'm not.
Sorry.
Bow!
Sorry.
Can you please watch your videos some other time?
I got muted, man.
Or put them headphones
I
in.
have headphones in. Chill, man. Chill.
Yeah, cool. I'm not going to lie. We're about to be on the back. And here, gotta be careful because it's already falling apart. This is the cool thing right here. But the thing is that they're not modern anymore because this type of model they quit using in the late 90s. So yeah. They were all replaced by newer models for people who don't know. Let me have another. Also, by the way, I will bring it up. Any hate comment or stereotype comment, I will remove. So, yeah.
Hey, Dave. You little thing.
Or snack. Now, yeah, I did not do Ralph in a day. I did sleep in a little bit because of sunburn. So, yeah. I had sunburn so hard yesterday when I fell asleep around 10 last night. I ended up not waking up until around 12 today. So, yeah. That's how tired I was. Now, let's get to this month issue with actually looking pretty good. I'm not going to lie. You got them high hood GP9s. DT and I, which is pretty cool. And we have a friend who also a fellow YouTuber who model it if it was on the modern era. Pretty cool, but yeah. Are you watching a Filipino show?
Yeah.
Oh, huh. There we go. Ah, there we go. Didn't want them removable, but see the whole thing right there would look pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Got high hood and everything. Got a flat card that is in HO. Damn. Love to have the more end scales up. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. That, I'm not gonna lie, that looked cool right there. But yeah. Let me see what it's about. Oh, work hard much more. um,
What there is, I got
but it looked pretty cool. Got a German locomotive right there from German train company, which is cool. To be honest, with me being part German, it's awesome. That a Conrail U-boat. U-boats are awesome. I'm not going to lie about that. See him at Conrail's up. Also, we're coming up on our big thing called Cold County. Our coal country, you know. It's like the trains route in Train Simulator. Also, here at Track Plan, it looked okay. but I could do better. I'm not gonna lie, but I have seen a better track. They're actually a way better track plan in the book, and it of the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad, which is a cool railroad. With I would that railroad would not absorbed by Union Pacific. Y'all know what I mean. Damn you, Union Pacific. No reason I'm saying what I'm saying, because all you be doing on this train layout is to running train around circles and stuff, and you don't have that much switching out YouTube would be able to do. So yeah, there would not be that much switching out, but it got them nice photo opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but I could do better. Not trying to hate on the guy. Guy is cool, but I'm more into operational stuff. If y'all know what I mean. Now here is what it is. A new route to St. Paul's. It name of the route. And before I show you y'all the track plan, here's some screenshots. You would recognize the route from the photo, but here is the route. But look at it now. Look at that. That, I'm not gonna lie, cool looking. That one, up there with one of my favorite routes. It in HO scale. Got a lot of operational areas. And that I'm not going to lie about. It looked pretty cool. You got a area where the layout begins and ends. But yeah, you get running train and all that. Got the nice photo ops area. But yeah. But yeah. It's cool. I'm not gonna lie. You know, stuff like that are cool to me. Got some interesting stuff here. If y'all can zoom in and pause, and if you want to read it, then so be it. But, you know, it's up to y'all. Alright, it's not hot. Gotta make sure I'm not overheating everything. If y'all know what I mean. But, yeah. But look at it. It's cool in itself. Surprised we did one of my favorite scenes right here. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It is one of my favorites. There we go. Move that out of the way. From the first layout, to be honest, it looked good, but you know, I seen much more crazier train layouts, if y'all know what I mean. But yeah, we're getting towards the back of this. So yeah. Oh, speaking of that, we get our by the yard thing in the back. Model train, so Evel, read it.
Mm-hmm. This is payback for last year's Tri-County Guild Expo, isn't it?
That's funny. Like, this is payback for last year Tri-County Expo. Is it not? So many trains. building, 5 buildings, so many trades. All right, I'm not gonna lie, that meme is funny, you know. But yeah. But it's a thing. Also, here at the back, I think the tank cars were cool, but they're not set for the modern era. My thing is that the model train setup, it's set when I'm doing a model railroad. I prefer modern era because old era's been done so many damn times. If y'all know what I mean. But yeah. So, but it did been crazy now. A minute. I only have one track plan that I actually have looked up, but it might be a loss. Oof. Dang it. Well, yeah, I won't be able to do the track plan to show it up. But wait, because it only is one area. Alright, I already sewed the area, never mind. That right. I already sewed the area and I don't need to sew it again. That would have been a oof. But yeah. Now let's go to Discord, see who is online. Because oh boy, we got to talk about from Train Sim World all the way if our buddy on the Great Run. Oh god, Brightline actually acts as AI. Mm. Mm. Alright, we're back. Brightline are not online right now. We'll call back in a bit. But also, he been having internet problem in his country. So yeah. Let's check what one of the train guys are on right now on Facebook. And also, I missed that Heritage unit again. Sucker went by. Did not even realize it until it was too late. Oh, Still 1 minute, everyone. Look at the railroading guys are mostly busy. Let's see if Alex is busy. Let's see if Mike the Iron Man is busy. One minute. Heck, I'm only at 300, not 300, 37 subscriber away from 400. I'm hoping to get to that by the end of the year. But yeah. There we go. Trying to see who is online right now, everyone. It's harder during some. Alright, this is what I'm going to bring it up to. It's harder to get subscribers during the summertime. Or not subscribers, but people, on YouTube in the summertime than in the wintertime. That's what I'll be on it about. I'm not even kidding. Oh. Gorgic out of work. Oh. Let me call Gord. He did get out of work, so probably gonna be a bit before he get home. But yeah, my Gord also worked hard, so Alright. How long before you get home? Until Thursday. Sorry. Not a real fan. Talking about the train stuff, but I'm waiting for the main guys of the crew to get on because most of them are either busy with school or have an internet issue. That's technically normally how it is. If y'all know what I mean. Like, normally how it is when you could think about it. Oh. Oh, I knew that would have been bad if. All right, that account is hacked. All right, 45 minutes. We can wait that long. He'll be on the live stream in about an hour. But yeah. I'm trying to get some of the train guys on. But let me just say this. Some of the new updates in Train Sim World are so crazy and look like they're finally doing stuff that finally needed to be done. Let me be honest. Without a good thing that they're finally getting stuff done and out of the way. Talking to a friend who I found. But to be honest, some of the dream stuff that are going on right now looking cool. Oh, what's that Griffin online? Uh-oh. Y'all can probably call me Cheese Man from now on. And snack time. A minute. Ooh. Oh, come on. Pansy fan. If you are hosting one for me. Yes, I'm hosting a live stream on my YouTube channel. I'm talking about trains. All right. Look like we're about to get Pinsy fans on. Welcome to the stream, man.
Thanks. Glad to be part of this.
Dude, I was reviewing 2 Model Railroad magazines earlier on live stream, you know? Zip month issues.
Model Railroader, you say?
Yeah, Model Railroader. You know?
Funnily enough, I'm literally on a website that says Model Railroader. I'm not looking about modeling per se, but rather some information about certain unbuilt engine classes for an upcoming video that I've been working on for a while, but pushing back due to school and other stuff like that. But I'm trying to see if I can get it done within the next few days. But funny that we're both looking at Model Railroader at the same time.
You know, what funny thing is that I look up area in real life that could be used in real model railroaded area, there are a lot of areas that could be used for train switching layouts in real life. Like, it boggled my mind.
Out there have potential.
Oh yeah, like there were some areas up in Minnesota and Michigan that I would say would be perfect for switching layouts. You know,
yeah. A lot of the Midwestern areas seem to be a bit underrated when it comes to not only modeling but also for Astro Rail ops as well, or just any footage. I mean, it kind of makes sense because a lot of this area is in the middle of nowhere, and it's in some cases it could be copy and paste, but sometimes you can find some pretty unique power out there.
Oh yeah.
I think the Milwaukee Road they utilized their own unique power to certain branch lines of the Midwest because it's what that region was used to. They were used to RSC2s, where another region in another state was used to more Fairbanks horsepowers. So it also had to do with what the mechanics in that area were used to. So that can make for some pretty unique modeling opportunities, as well as for some rail fanning captains back then.
Hey, Pindy fans, do you know the CXXA line?
I believe I do.
That's
the former Atlantic coastline.
I live right by it. I get out. I see. I literally see trains going by my house like that. How close to train tracks I am.
That's the ultimate rail fan dream right there.
Dude, I literally, if you watch some of my YouTube video from back in 2019, I used to rail fan right on my house property until the front neighbor put a tree in front of it. So I had to get closer and walk through the graveyard to get to another spot. And I decided because I want to keep track with my friends by using Wi-Fi, so I walked down to train people with only a 10-minute walk from my house. You know? Like, the area of the CXXA line I live on is called the Charleston sub.
Right.
We come out of Charleston, South Carolina.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of that, do you ever get the link I sent you talk about Palmetto Rail extending to the B&W plant?
I believe I did a while ago.
That's for tip up, and I'm saying, don't forget about put that in Pincy article, man. But
I'll try to see if I can include it.
But it did been crazy what been going on in railroading this month, you know? Like,
yeah, I've noticed that some months are usually very busy, while others not so much. I mean, the only major thing that I think really happened, other than the derailment on Montana Rail Link, is probably chassis system getting the 1973 Heritage unit, which got a lot of mixed reviews by rail fans. Honestly, I think it's the largest story. That's probably going to be the top story in the periodical for this month.
Oh, I know.
Unless something major happens until between now and the end of the month.
I know, dude, you're going to laugh at this, but me and my wife is a trained person too. We were in downtown Charleston the day that it went by my house. Then it went by my house the day before yesterday while I was at work.
Oh.
Literally, I missed it twice.
Oh. There's been plenty. It happens to all of us. I feel your pain with that. But there are plenty of times where I missed where the galore engines, heritage units, all that other stuff. But not to mention a bunch of other rare movements. Half the time, this isn't even my fault. Usually, I'm just waiting for my friend to be done with some sort of job or errand, and I end up missing the train by 20 minutes.
To be honest, there have been times that I met a cowl body one time on the A line back over a year ago. The BC cowl body unit. I was at work when that went by, and I said, "You gotta be a monkey behind kidding me," you know. But yeah. Speaking of that, I have another friend in the group named Gord. He is a Train Sim World fan. They're finally adding freight to the Northeast Corridor, you know?
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
I don't utilize Train Sim all that much, but I know that they have the Amtrak ACS 64 Ampletes. And I think they also have the CSX. Maybe this is Train Sim World or another game, but I know that they have a CSX switching operation at the Port Morris Yard in the Bronx region.
Yep.
So I assume that some of these local CSX runs that they're going to add to this Northeast corridor is going to include I forgot the name of it offhand, but there's a local Conrail shared assets train that runs around New Brunswick with a Conrail caboose. I assume they'll be adding that to the game.
I believe so.
Nice to hear.
That I'll be honest. I'll say that will be awesome.
Yeah. I think there are a few cases where it's not so common now, but occasionally, maybe in like the early 2010s, mid 2000s, a Norfolk Southern intermodal train would run down the Northeast corridor, probably somewhere around Trenton. I remember seeing the photo around that. I think so. I remember it was somewhere in New Jersey. I'll try to see if I can find a photo of it really quick.
To be honest, not Brightline. Sorry about that, Pansy. I was trying to talk to Pansy. I meant Brightline earlier, but his internet connection from his country is not too good right now, you know? But then what I'll be honest, most people think the Northeast Corridor are all freight, passenger, but there are some freight trains that won't run on the line, you know?
Yeah, local and intermodal. I actually found a few photos of Norfolk Southern Chivos, Dash 9s. I don't know if they're relatively long freight trains because they don't want to block up the corridor for too long, or if they even run single stack under there. But I did find a lot of photos of light cap and S engines throughout the corridor in New Jersey.
Oh, nice. Hey, speaking of that, you know train M410?
I think so.
CXX train M410. CXX Manifest from Waycross, Georgia, all the way up to New York, Scott City, New York.
Yeah.
That train go right by my house, and then it take the Northeast Corridor halfway all the way up to New York.
Really?
Yep.
I thought the CSX track would just utilize the former Reading line or former Baltimore and Ohio line from DC over to Jersey, because I can only find Norfolk Southern photos of white caps using the corridor. Not so much CSX. I think that's because CSX owns the trackage there.
They do. And last time I've been up to New Jersey was back in 2016. It's been almost a decade, you know? That's how long it's been since I've been up to New Jersey. What do you think about, and I'm going to bring it up, what do you think about the Amtrak, the new replacement for the Acela getting delayed again? What do you think about that?
On a live stream, so I have to watch what I say, but I mean, they look okay, I guess, but there's the thing that really ticks me off in terms of the design of the Avelian Liberty, at least externally, is the power car and the coach do not align. And that's because of the tilting mechanisms for the coaches. They can't put it in the power car because that will otherwise make it too heavy. But it causes this gap between the power car and the coach. And the thing that makes it painful is that if you look at the original rendering of the 2016 trailer, that gap isn't there.
I know.
They added it in as an engineering challenge later on, which I can see why they did that, but it doesn't look good in terms of aesthetics.
I'm not going to lie.
Get me started about its French ambulance siren of a horn.
Yep. But I'll be honest.
Too is that the Avelian Liberty, if you think about it, technically the coaches themselves individually are lighter, but the whole train set is going to be heavier than the Acela ones, because the Acela ones, in addition to the two power cars, are only 6 coaches in the middle. The Avelian Liberty is going to be 10 to 11 in the middle.
I know. That thing, hopefully these things are way faster and more powerful. That thing.
True, but that also depends on what segments of the Northeast Corridor they're on. They're still going to face the same speed restrictions as the Acela ones. I think yeah.
Oh, you could say what you were going to say, Pensy fan.
I'm not really sure if this is official, but I heard something about how 40% of all funding for Amtrak goes to the Northeast Corridor. I'm not sure if they utilize all the funding or revenue from the NEC to pay for the other long-distance lines, or if they could discontinue that program at this point. I'm not really sure if that's the case or not, but yeah, I had to do some more research into that. But basically, They put all the attention in the Northeast Corridor. I've noticed they're trying to make a lot of upgrades with the curves, adding more bridges, adding more capacity. Probably not only due to the SLs, but for all the other services that run in the Northeast Corridor. I think there's actually I have my computer open at the moment. Let me see. Northeast Regional. The regional itself sees a grand total of 50 plus trains per day between New York and DC.
That's true. Now, here the thing that I'm going to say about this is that Amtrak is trying to add more corridor. Like, there are a lot of areas that Amtrak could be improving. Am I right?
Well, absolutely. We're lucky. Well, I'm from the Northeast, so that's why I say we're. Specifically the Long Island region. So I've been to the city a lot of times, and I see a lot of Amtrak. I was just there earlier today, commuting from Penn Station. But anyways, the Northeast is extremely lucky when it comes to passenger service. You have headways or time between trains once every hour at most. Anywhere else in the country, even in Chicago, you're lucky to see more than 5 trains a day. Even the Lincoln service is something like, 3-4 trains a day?
I know, and
Even though they're going at one time. And another thing I've noticed, too, is that some people pointed out Northeast regionals are getting longer. They're adding more cars because they're taking cars away from the Midwestern services.
I know, and that's the problem. Jane, is it that we need to add more trains to the Midwestern? Heck, here where I live, here in Charleston, South Carolina, we only get 4 Amtrak trains, not counting the auto train, because the auto train do come by my house, too. But we only get...
Well,
yeah.
funny you mentioned the auto train, because to your point, the auto train doesn't stop in South Carolina, and yes, the South is a completely underrated region. They used to have so many passenger rail lines.
I know.
Services. But it's the thing that's funny you mentioned the auto train, because it just so happens, based on my footage I uploaded about a month or 2 ago, I actually rode the auto train from Morton to Sanford, and technically there is an Amtrak stop on the auto train, Florence, South Carolina.
Yep.
They have a crew change as well as I think a smoke stop for anyone who wants to smoke a cigarette outside. But I stayed up way past midnight to make sure that we saw the Florence, South Carolina rest stop, I guess. So right as we stopped outside, there was also a bunch of CSX switching action going on, and just taking in the entire environment of a quiet midnight South Carolinian field, I guess, from a small town of Charleston, while we were waiting for a train to get moving.
You know what funny?
People know about this because they don't advertise it, because it's not a regularly scheduled stop. But that's a little fun fact about the auto train in South Carolina in particular.
Pensy fan, you know what funny? You probably passed my house while you were sleeping, because you technically passed my house last year without even knowing you passed it. Because I see the auto train. Heck, I could be lucky and catch the auto train when in late northbound. I'm at southbound, like a southbound auto train. If I'm lucky, I could catch a late one in the morning or midday. But a northbound one, you got to get lucky if that thing get delayed for almost a good few hours if you want to catch that in the morning, you know?
Wasn't able to see a northbound auto train, though, but just after we passed Florence, I saw a northbound Silver Meteor.
Oh, yeah, the Silver Meteor passing my house, too. We get the Palmetto and the Silver Meteor.
All right.
But
although, funny enough, in terms of delayed auto trains, we were actually running 10 minutes early the entirety of the trip.
That's
somehow.
the funny thing.
But it was all good. It was all good until we went to DeLand, Florida, because the day I was on the auto train was the same day where Sunrail had their groundbreaking ceremony at DeLand. And since that area was single-tracked, they parked their little executive train right at the station, and not only held up my auto train, but also held up the Silver Meteor right in front of it. And we were stuck there for an hour.
Oh!
Because of that, it gets better. Because of that, as soon as we leave DeLand, like 10 miles later, we're only 5 minutes away from the Sanford station. They stopped the train for a crew change because of labor hours.
Damn! I'm not gonna lie. That's just some luck right there. The earliest that we had an auto train pass from coming a northbound auto train was around 9 o'clock, and that was back about 3 years ago. And that one went about an hour to 2 hours early. because Mo Auto Train coming north past my house around 11 at night, like 11:30 if they're running on time. And the earliest a southbound hab came by where I live around 12:30 at night, and that was 2 hours early. Thing is that the auto trains, when they go by my house, they literally come through during midnight hours, not during the daytime. I would have to get lucky to catch one during the daylight. You know what I mean?
That's the thing that concerns me about Amtrak's long-distance service as well, especially in the South. There was a map that Trains Magazine posted about 10-ish years ago that showed the regularly scheduled passing time for all of the long-distance services in the U.S. And practically all the long-distance trains that went through the South in states like South Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana, both the northbound and the southbound went through there in the middle of the night.
I know. And here jumping out, like, if you go back to the 50s, Charleston, and in my home city, Charleston, South Carolina, we used to have a commuter rail system all the way up until the late 50s. And here jumping that it messed up and dirty, and reason why I say car and bus company are corrupt is that in 1972, a year after Amtrak was formed, Amtrak announced that they were going to bring commuter rail back to Charleston. And Carter over 50 years now. When Carter was formed, they got word that Amtrak was planning to bring commuter rail back to the city. And the thing is that they freaked out, and that them and people at Kelaw, I also don't like the people at Kelaw because they are red snobs. All of them paid someone to burn down the Union Station in downtown Charleston and was covered up. And instead of allowing Amtrak to rebuild the Union Station that was right there in the middle of downtown Charleston, they tore it down and they bulldozed it to the ground to build car infrastructure. You know?
Sorry to hear that. I didn't know that was the reason why they took down the Union Station. I was familiar with it. I'm trying to get it on Wikipedia now because I know that it used to have some sort of multi-track terminal, and then a bunch of lines ran through it as well. But I didn't know that was the reason why it got shut down.
And here, Gene, don't trust the Wikipedia page about it, because the Wikipedia page it also uses a cover up. Because if you read the cover up about the Wikipedia page, in the Wikipedia page, the people who work for the railroad said it was the best decision to move the train station from downtown Charleston to North Charleston. And to be honest, North Charleston is the ghetto area. Like, literally, it run down, and you got two rail diamonds right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, looking at Google Maps, there's an intermodal facility, not next to the station, but close nearby.
Yeah, and they're saying that a good area? No, it ain't. That's a terrible area to put a train chase in.
I have a cousin who lives in Atlanta, and she said the same thing about the Amtrak station there. They put it off in the outskirts of a less than favorable region of the city instead of the city center.
You know why they do that? It's a little technique for people to buy a car or take planes. It's a dirty technique for people to take the competition. You know what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Like, heck,
I believe in a less than favorable area, maybe to discourage it, basically what you said.
Yeah.
Just trying to make sure I say the right thing since I'm on a live stream.
I know. Also, you remember Dimitri when we used to talk? You remember when I talked to him about it and he even agreed with me when that it was spit? It's something that me and Dimitri talked about, and he talked about it on his live stream too, saying that it was a spit to the face to have commuter rail gone from Charleston when we were the birthplace of commuter rail in this country, you know?
Yeah.
That's a spit to the face that South Carolina used to have a whole bunch of passenger rail and then poof, gone. And here, Jane, I live in the area of Charleston, and I live in the called Ravenel, South Carolina, and that is the outskirts of Charleston. And the thing is that, and we only get one bus in the morning and one in the afternoon. If we miss that bus, we're going to have to take an Uber or hitchhike to places in downtown, you know? But it'd be...
South in particular has a lot less investment or a lot less public support when it comes to not only passenger rail, but public transit in general, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Technically, they have options, but it's not very convenient.
I know.
What you said before, people to use competition by a car.
Mm-hmm. And also, they make it where the car is the only option, you know? Like, when you take that option and you make airplane it so hostile, saying, here, drive, you'll like it. Not everybody wants to drive, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I pushed off getting my license until my first year of college because I go to college in New York City, and I just use public transit all the time. I have a driver's license only recently for ID purposes, but since then I haven't really driven.
Pinchy, me and my wife are both autistic. I only have a driver permit, you know?
Yeah.
And seeing it's harder for people with mental and physical disability. Like, do you know what ableism is? It's a form of racism. But for disabled people. The car is ableist when you did think about it. Because people who can't drive or can't physically or mentally drive, it kind of segregates them to their house if they live in the middle of an area that is not built for transit or walkability.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Dimitri and me agreed on to even you know, not just Spike and Alan Fisher, all of them even say it too. Our cities with photos to the ground for the car. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And people...
Cincinnati's another classic example of how, fortunately, they basically let highways run right through the center of the town.
Mm-hmm. Heck, right where Interstate 26 is, where the old rail line used to go right under the old right over Interstate 26. Like, the tracks go right under it, but, you know, they were torn out long ago, and the last remnant of it was torn out in 2008. You know what I mean? But...
That's another example I can think of is Syracuse in upstate New York. The original New York Central alignment that went to the Syracuse Union Station, that not only got pulled out, but that whole section, the right-of-way, was taken over by something like a 8-lane highway.
I know.
And oddly enough, they kept the station out, this head house there, although they don't use the station anymore. But they have a mural on the back of the station right next to the highway that keeps one of the platforms and shows a picture of a train on the side to say, this is what we used to have.
And saying it,
like that.
To be honest, that is spit in the face too right there, you know?
Yeah. Nowadays, the Syracuse station we have now is kind of like Charleston, not really close to the city center and kind of on the outskirts.
Like, literally,
at least that's closer to a stadium and a Greyhound terminal. That's another thing I've noticed too. A bunch of these newer stations that are going up, I mean, they're putting them right next to either a Greyhound terminal or an airport. And I can kind of see the reasoning behind that, in which all the public transit hubs are within the same place. But I kind of feel like it's somewhat encouraging the competition. Instead of building intercity rail to the same places that Greyhound and airlines offer, they just say, let's just move the station to this intermodal hub. And let's just make the bus or plane do the rest of the work. Instead of, building a train or using more intercity rail, which is a much better experience overall.
And here, Jane, back in 2018, right before the coup happened, I'm even saying what Demetrius said, the coup.
Same here.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, back in 2018, they would talk about doing a commuter rail line from downtown Charleston to Somerville. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I googled Charleston, South Carolina commuter rail to see what you mean, because I haven't really heard of that project until now. But first thing that showed up was something named Low Country Rapid Transit. It goes, like you said, from not just Charleston Amtrak station, but the heart of Charleston, right at the tip, all the way to Somerville.
I know, and what happened is they shot it down and got what they're replacing it with.
Another interstate lane expansion project.
Nope. Rapid bus transit.
I mean, I guess it's better than nothing, but yeah, I'd much rather have a train, or at least a light rail.
I know. And funny.
That reminds me, there was, I forget, Orange County Streetcar. That's a similar project that happened in North Carolina. It was a brand new light rail line that went probably near Cary, North Carolina, somewhere around there. And I don't know if they replaced it with bus rapid transit, but they essentially shut down the light rail aspect, kind of like what they did here.
It thing is that because someone who worked for a bus company, and I know it for a fact, gave the person who going to approve it a lot of money to deny the rail aspect and said, hey, we're going to give you the money right here. Technically bribing them into picking the bus rapid transit, you know? Like, in here,
I guess some people might consider that funding as well, but yeah, I see your point.
That not funding, that bribery, you know? You're bribing someone to buy you and stop your competition from coming in. Am I right?
I suppose so.
And here, funny thing, there's already a railroad track coming from downtown Toronto that head into Somerville that they could have utilized, you know? Yep. And the line, it called the Norfolk Southern S line, or the SC line, for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the former Seaboard line.
No, not Seaboard line. It's a line coming from Charleston to Columbia, South Carolina. It was called the SC line, and it was the original line where the best friend of Charlton ran halfway before it went to Augusta. You know?
Nice.
So
I just found it on a rail guide, and apparently it's the Southern Railway branch that goes from Charleston to, well, half of the line is abandoned to Augusta, but the only portion that's intact after Somerville goes up to Ranchville, and then it makes a right turn to Orangeburg and then Columbia.
Yep. And funny thing is that commuter trains used to run that line from Union Station all the way up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Patner train, intercity train. So that kind of erupted in a...
I've heard of intercity service from Columbia to Charleston, which are in themselves two very large cities in the state.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, Charlton have the most population in South Carolina. Like, the biggest population here in South Carolina is my home city. And they're saying, and when you count the tourism, like, our population is 300,000, but when you add the tourists, it brings it up to 1 million. When you... And saying
it's not just the tourists, but it's also, I don't know if they would count as residents, but I know a lot of people from my high school who went to universities in a lot of southern states. Charleston, Clemson, University of Alabama. So that definitely increases the southern population as well as the demand for public transit.
And here's the funny thing is that even not to bike said that, like, people think that Charlton is not a big enough city for commuter rail, but that a BS lie. Did think about it. Our traffic is getting worse.
It's too small for commuter rail.
It's not even.
Even if it's not a full-on branch line, even if it's not a full-on intercity line or high-speed rail, you can still have something like a branch line service or even light rail to provide us some sort of connecting service from a smaller or larger town to a railway main line.
Now, here, Jane, my grandma lived on an area called Johns Island, and there are only 2 bridges on and off the island. But if you go back all the way to the 1950s, you had 2 train bridges on and off the island, too. And the thing is that those 2 bridges, the first one came from Johns Island into Hollywood, South Carolina, was torn down in 1970. The other one stayed up because there was a production plant on Johns Island that Shills was served by a rail. That plant was forced by Kiowa to shut down their rail service in 1982, and tracks were automatically torn up, and the bridge was torn down in 1982, and the old line that connected it to the rest of the world, what we call the old Krogan branch, that was torn up in 1982 to stop any commuter rail or any rail service from developing, you know? And it was dirty how the rail line was done dirty, and they covered it up and abandoned it, you know? Like, they literally...
Says it was a former Seaboard Airline main line that ran from Charleston to Savannah.
Yep.
I guess they figured the CSX Atlantic Coastline was close by. I've noticed that with a lot of cases, like this CSX, or at least at the time Seaboard Coastline, preferred the Atlantic Coastline track to Georgia Seaboard Coastline when it came to routes that came relatively close, so could possibly be seen as redundant. But I mean, it was still serving a lot of industries along the seaboard route, and it would definitely serve as a good way to maybe relieve some congestion along the line.
I know.
That's what Via Rail is doing up in Canada. They're saying that they're building some new high-speed rail service from, I think, Toronto to Montreal along a quote-unquote abandoned or new alignment. But half of that new alignment was actually a former Canadian Pacific main line that used to see passenger service and was abandoned in favor of a freight bypass, I guess.
And
but now Via Rail is using it as another route for passenger rail service. And I could definitely see something like that if a brand new high-speed rail right-of-way or alignment were to come through Charleston. They could easily use the Seaboard Airline alignment, since it's, from what I can tell, mostly intact. And it's basically unused land to put down a brand new set of tracks, overhead catenary, and whatever else.
Now, here's the problem. The area where the old track goes through Hollywood, South Carolina, there is suburban wasteland built up right there. You know the type of stuff that we hate, and that money laser. They have suburban development built on where the old track bed used to be. Then,
I see what you mean, right out of Charleston near Ashleyville. Yeah, that's really built up.
Yeah, and then
the railway is still there. It looks like it was turned into a trail. To your point, there are a lot of right-of-ways where, as soon as they're up for sale, there's either a huge housing development or, worse, public storage.
Tell me about it. It's disgusting when you think about it. Am I right?
Yeah.
And thing is, and I'm going to bring it up, and people might get pissed at me, but thing is that it going, like, we have the technology now to build under the water table. Like, if we're going to, this is what I propose if we do build high-speed rail from Charlton to Savannah. We rebuild half of the old high rail line. When it gets close to Hollywood, we'll build it underground, under the water table. Make it go under Johns Island. And when it gets to downtown Toronto, there will be a big Union Station. It'll keep going underground until it get into North Toronto and then come out onto the land. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically a little tunnel. I mean, I can see how some people could be against that in terms of extra costs for going underground and doing a lot more environmental work. But that would be a good way to kind of get rid of the NIMBYism, I guess, because it's not really directly in their backyard, and it'll technically have the least impact. Although, I'm not really sure how construction would work. They would have to dig underneath, or at least dig deep enough to make sure that they're not disturbing not only the houses, but also nearby water lines.
But
it's definitely something that can be looked into.
Now, thing is that the water table is so low here in Charleston. What we're going to have to do is ask the Dutch, because the Dutch, they know how to build under the water table. Let's be honest. They built a whole subway system under the water table. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, the Dutch are ones we're going to have to ask to help us build the rail line underwater. And the thing is that...
Sorry, you continue.
The thing is that we have a lot of pluck mud. You know what pluck mud is?
Mud, I guess?
Not it's mud that smell like poop.
Oh.
Yeah. Trust me, when you'll recognize what pluck mud is when you start smelling stuff that smell like you took a number 2, if you know what I mean. But the thing is, and what I'll be honest about is that we can also do a commuter rail, because Johns Island to Keelah, they could do a commuter rail, have the track coming from Keelah go underground and connect up with the high-speed rail system underground into West Ashley. We built an underground station in West Ashley, and then have a big Union Station in downtown, right in the middle of the city, underground, and have commuter line connecting up underground like you see in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To your point, you raised an excellent point about considering the Dutch when it comes to passenger rail service, because when it comes to high-speed rail, a lot of people, at least outside of railroading, usually think of Japan, China, or just Europe as if it was a country, which it's not, or at least Eurostar, which also uses tunneling technology to go from London to Paris. But not a lot of people talk about the Dutch and their excellent engineering when it comes to building below the water level.
Exactly.
That's definitely something that we should look into.
And thing is that funny, you're going to laugh at. Funny thing is, we had people from the Netherlands came to Charleston because we asked them to help us with our flooding problem. And the moment they told us that we got to get rid of our suburbias, the moment that they said, nah, we don't need your help, you know? That's saying a lot that the people who run our city rather prefer money-sucking suburbia than options that improve our city and help our way of living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like literally, in the bus rapid transit system I was talking to you about, it going right down a road, middle of a road, you know?
Oh, I guess they're doing that to save on construction costs, but come on now.
Well, funny thing.
At least it's better than building a bus right in the middle of a railway line, which is what some BRTs have done in Britain.
And here's the funny thing. You're going to laugh at it. The funny thing is that how they have it, it looks like you're going to have to run across the road to get to the bus stop in order to take the bus rapid transit system.
Oh, yikes. It's Roosevelt Boulevard in Philly all over again.
Yep, because let me bring up the road name. It's hard name to remember, even though I'm a Charleston local, born and raised here, you know what I mean? Because I'll be honest, I was born here in my home state, you know? And the thing is that I watched how far down our system came. Now, road in Highway 28, or not 28, 78, what they call, River Avenue, like the road is called River Avenue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see it on the map.
That road, they're going to put it all the way down, and then when it get halfway down, it's going to follow Highway 28 to Somerville. Funny thing is, they could, do a commuter rail line that connect even up to the Amtrak station by using commuter rail. It would have been easier and cheaper, you know?
They should go for Center Track, and since that goes right to the, it doesn't go to the Amtrak station, that would be CSX track.
Now,
they could easily build some sort of connection between CSX and NS.
Oh, yeah.
Any sort of air.
Yeah, I already checked it. Now, here, Gene, if we do want to do a commuter rail system, my thing is to do like the S-Bahn, TexRail in Texas.
Yep.
Like that S-Bahn train system like they do there, or in California. They could do that in Charleston, and it will make so much money.
The other thing about S-Bahn is that usually, and a great example of this is also SEPTA in Philadelphia. I think the S-Bahn is that there isn't any necessary terminus station per se. Yeah, there's a general region where most people get off. In this case, it'll be Charleston, South Carolina. But instead of laying trains up in a yard, they're immediately reassigned to another commuter rail line going in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
So that's why usually with SEPTA in particular, you usually see trains at somewhere like Trenton saying this train is going to West Trenton or Norristown instead of Philly, because technically Philadelphia is not the last stop. It's a major stop, but it's being reassigned to another commuter rail branch right after that.
Now here,
so there's no layover time. They're being used 24/7.
I know. Now here, with my ideal for a commuter rail line, like phase 1 will come from downtown Toronto, right near the cruise ship terminal, right where the French Quarter is, because it's a historic tourist area. So you will get a lot of people riding train automatically because it terminates right there where the cruise ship terminal and where the cruise ship stop. So you would have had a big stop right there. Like turn that into a big intermodal facility where people can take taxi boat to the other side of the river, take bus or commuter train, because there are already train tracks already there that are actually still used by Palmetto Rail,
Yep.
And the thing is that build the track high rise, like build a high rise over the freight tracks, and when it gets near the aquarium, and right at get over the rail yard right near the port, have it come down right at level to connect onto the NS line, follow the track, and right at get to the intermodal facility right there where 526 and Interstate 26 meet, have the track go right up over the intermodal facility, come down, connect onto the CXA line to the Amtrak, Jason, then have a crossover, and then right before you get to a diamond, have a switch, cross it over to that line, get it back onto the SC line, back to Somerville. And also part of phase one, have a freaking, track that go right into the airport terminal where you can have commuter train connect up. Like that for phase one, you know what I mean?
Like some great engineering plans.
But funny thing is, with me being a sucky reader, like I'll be honest, I suck at reading. I'm not a good reader. I can only read up to a 7th grade level, but I'm hella smart. You know? And that's the problem. Our society think people who can read are pretty smart. Like I see people who can read who are stupid dumb. You know?
Same here.
Like, am I right? Like, and funny thing.
There's a lot of things that goes into a person's character rather than their ability to do one thing or another.
Like, thing is, I'm very good at drawing. Like, I can draw people. I used to draw photos of my wife. I even did her in a nude at one point. But the point is that my plan in Deliver Phase 1 to go up to Somerville and have all the major connections connected. The airport, the cruise ship terminal. With that right there in downtown Toronto. And that right where the French Quarter is, where all the tourists stop. So that would have been good in a way. And heck, it would make it easy. You know what I mean? Or we could do an underground station coming right smack dead in the middle of Toronto with a 4-track platform for commuter trains. That's another option. Like, we don't need high-speed rail, but we need commuter rail and inner-city rail. Heck, maybe add like an inner-city train from Charleston to Columbia again. Because there's no direct train from Toronto to Columbia anymore. We lost that back a long time ago. You know?
Yeah.
And saying is, like, build it all underground. Have, like, a train that Jordan Toronto and ends in Columbia. You know what I mean? That will be very good. Heck. Problem is, we'll have to fight with Norfolk Southern because we know how they are with passenger rail. Am I right?
I guess with that, it would probably be a good idea to help either give them money or negotiate with them somehow to add a second track wherever possible, or at least rate sidings for convenience of passenger rail.
Well, the problem is the line at dark signal territory, if you know what that means.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot harder with that being dark signal territory.
In that case, does the line between Columbia and Charleston see a lot of intermodal traffic, or is it mostly locals?
7 freight trains per day. 7 to 8.
I can see how that could be a signaling issue or siding issue.
And the thing is that they get about 2 locals actually in Charleston, but 4 locals up in Columbia. You know?
All right. And do most of these locals usually terminate at Columbia, or do some go out of state?
No. The locals from Charleston, they terminate past Somerville into another area. I can't remember the town name. And then you have the 4 other locals that terminate right there halfway, right after you pass Orenburg with the CXX interchange right in the middle. So they got an interchange halfway, you know?
Yeah.
Funny thing is, there you've been another interchange right in Orangeburg. Like, if you look in Google Maps where the CXX line go right under the Norfolk Southern line, you can note an old track bed line that came from them, and you note it like a siding. That siding where they, interchange with CXX and go down on the CXX line to interchange, you know?
Or something like a Y, essentially?
No, not a Y. Like, it crossed over the 4-lane highway.
Oh, all right.
Jane is, I know where the spot is because I used to, my deadbeat dad used to live up there. You know what I mean?
I can kind of see the alignment from the NS line to CSX.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see it.
Jane, is it that Orangeburg would be good for a commuter train like too? Like have an S-Bahn train, like have a partner shop in Orangeburg, you know?
Yeah.
Like heck, like have commuter trains come down from Columbia to Somerville, not Somerville, but Orangeburg. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I figured that usually most good distances for commuter rail is anywhere that's over 50. That's a generally accepted term. But I set the limit for commuter rail at 130 because even on the Long Island Railroad, they have commuter rail services. The Montauk branch, to be specific, that goes from Penn Station to Montauk. What do you call? In 120 miles. So right around there is the limit for commuter rail service. So let me just Google Maps this really quickly. Columbia to Charleston. I want to see if that's better as a commuter or intercity because Columbia to Charleston might be good as intercity. And if that were the case, then meeting them halfway in Orangeburg, similar to how Oceanside is halfway between Metrolink and Coaster, between Los Angeles and San Diego commuter service, that could work as well.
Mm-hmm. The problem is we're going to have NIMBYs who love cars fighting against it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it just makes it add up. Well, oh, look at this. I found the route that goes through. Does it go through Orangetown? Orangeville? Where is it now? Here it is. I found a route that's about 120, right at the limit for commuter rail.
Mm-hmm. And
But yeah.
My point is, and I'll be on it about this, is that like Charleston to Somerville would be good for commuter rail, like for phase one. Like phase one will be from downtown Charleston to Somerville for us. Phase two will be from right where the Amtrak station is to King Street, where another Amtrak station is, or like King Street, where a fellow rail fan friend of ours, Jay Sean, lives. Am I right? Then phase 4 will be coming down from the Amtrak station heading all the way down to where I live here in Ravenel, South Carolina, and we'll have a terminated stop right here, you know? And phase 5, phase 5 is probably going to be the hardest because they're going to go right through West Ashley, coming off right there off the A line, taking a left, or not a left, right, technically, yes, a left off onto the old Krogan branch, taking it all the way down to where California Dreaming is, then having another split to have it go on to Johns Island, connect Johns Island, James Island, and Kewah up to downtown Charleston all by commuter rail. Now, that's going to be a problem because that's where all the NIMBYs lives, you know?
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, the NIMBYs are selfish. Oh, seeing that our friend Brightline is getting ready to call on hold, let him invite him in. Because, let's be honest, and what I'll be honest about Penzi Fan is that we need to improve rail infrastructure. Am I right?
Absolutely.
You know? But, yeah, like, that's the thing. All right. Uh-oh. Oh, hey. Trying to invite him. 1 minute. What? I'm trying to invite Penzi Fan. Or not Penzi Fan, but, you know. 1 minute. Trying to add him to join the call. All right. 1 minute. All right. 1 minute, everyone. Hey, Brightline, I'm trying to invite our friend, Pansy Fan.
Oh yes. Yes.
I was
That.
just talking to him.
Oh, all right.
But what?
Bring him in.
All right, 1 minute.
All right. So what you're going to tell me about?
All right, I'm adding him in 1 minute. All right, come on. All right, we should be getting him in. All right, here he come. We should be getting
Do
him.
you like my new profile picture?
I know. I cannot believe you let AI did that.
I know it's kind of. I'm not a fan of AI, but at least I know how to do some train picking. I know at least AI knows how to do some train images of trains. Since we
I know.
don't have our own.
I know. Hold up. Let me let Pansy Fan know to join the call.
I actually shared them to the American Rail Club.
Hold up. I sent you a...
What's going on with Pansy Fan?
Oh, I'm trying to let him know invite. But I sent you a... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for him to join, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But... You know what I mean? Right there. Oop.
I was actually watching a video about the...
Oh, there he is.
Empire.
He in.
Okay. Hello.
I would talk to Pansy Fan on how we could fix the problem and bring commuter rail here to my home city of Charleston. And
Yeah, it's a very detailed plan. Very good.
like, people underestimate me even though I'm autistic, you know? Uh-oh, Brightline, you okay, bud?
I'm still okay.
Look,
There's yeah. So
I know we can hear that static,
yeah.
but
So speaking of underestimating trains, I've heard that there are some people that are actually not believing in that the rail network project here in the DR. People are starting to doubt it. Doubt that it's going to happen. And some people think that it's going to be impossible that it could happen.
mm-hmm. To be honest,
I guess it's all about raising awareness and getting dedicated funding and support for any rail project anywhere in the world. And that goes for any project too. As long as you get enough awareness and support for it, spread the word about its benefits, then it's sure to pass.
Yes, you know that rail projects like these are super expensive. Money doesn't grow on trees. I get it.
That's true.
That.
Now, here at St. I'll be on about, even though no rail projects are expensive at first, in the long run, they're cheaper. Like here at St. Commuter rail and passenger rail, anything passenger train related, it's expensive up front, but it's cheaper in the long run. But with buses are cheaper up front, but they're expensive in the long run. If y'all know what I mean.
Yeah, it's worth it in the long run. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Now here, jumping.
The thing is, well, not just for railroads, but just businesses in general. I think they're focused, especially with PSR, they're especially more focused on saving money in the short term rather than long term investment, because that means less money for them at the moment, which some people don't like. But other than that, I've also noticed on another topic, you always hear about how expensive it is to get all these brand new passenger rail projects, and I get that there are engineering challenges and that this requires skilled specialization and labor and all that stuff.
Now,
we'll still do a lot of highway projects, and they're just fine. You don't hear people complaining about them.
Now,
speaking of highway projects, you know how I-95 just got built in Philadelphia? just got
Yeah,
rebuilt
they just replaced the bridge in, like, what, 2 weeks?
in 12 days.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks in that case.
Mm-hmm.
So even in the newest infrastructure bill that Biden passed, and I think it was initially reduced from $5 trillion to $1 trillion, if I remember correctly, but I think it's something like 60% more funding in that infrastructure bill went to highways than rail. I don't know if that's an exact number, but it was an exponentially higher amount.
I know,
And
and
not to mention, Amtrak alone won $75 billion. They gave $66 billion to all of rail. Not Amtrak, all of rail, meaning that Amtrak has to split that 66 with every other railroad included in the infrastructure bill.
And-
Speaking of that infrastructure bill, Tri-Rail is going to receive those futuristic, not futuristic, well, possibly those rail cars that they're going to, those new rail cars.
I'm not sure if they were specific about what rail cars they're going for yet, but the newest, quote-unquote, newest things they have are the Hyundai Rotem bi-levels, which I think entered service in the late 2000s, I want to say. So I don't know. I don't think you're getting more of those because they're probably no longer selling to US, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be an interesting challenge all in itself. And that also leads me to another thing that kind of happened in the news recently with Amtrak wanting their own long-distance service or long-distance fleet as well. That's either going to be done by Siemens, Alstom, CAF, or Stadler. And whoever wins that contract, I could see them winning new commuter rail orders as well. Because as of right now, I'm not too sure of many bi-level commuter rail car builders in the U.S. other than Stadler and Bombardier, or now Alstom. And I don't think Tri-Rail is going to be replacing their Hyundai Rotems with more Bombardiers.
That's absolutely true.
That's true. And thing is that I think also and not having a good look with, the high-speed locomotive that they're building for Amtrak. Let's be honest.
Yeah. They say that it's due to different specifications with American Track, which, yeah, that's true to an extent, but also in general, again, I'm trying to watch what I say because I'm on the stream, but I've heard that they don't have too much of a good track record in terms of reliability. I mean, they make good products, especially the TGV, but it's pretty decent when compared to other manufacturers in the U.S., especially Siemens. Siemens in particular, I've noticed, has a much larger clientele in the U.S. than Alstom. And even when it comes to their streetcars, I heard earlier today in another server, the K-cars, not K-cars, the LRVs that SEPTA is going to use from Alstom, they're actually going to make the boarding process slower, because the thing with the streetcars that they have in SEPTA now, they just pull up, open the door seconds before they stop, everyone gets on, and as soon as they finish boarding people, they shut the door, but they start moving as they shut the doors. With the new LRVs, probably due to ADA compliance, they have to come to a full stop, open the doors, which is going to take about 5 seconds in itself, close the doors, which is another 5 seconds, and then start moving. It may look like a minuscule difference at first glance, but over time it adds up.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, the SCP is a hypocrite when it comes to rail safety, but they're not they're hypocrite when it comes to that, but, when it comes to buses, I have seen buses open their doors right after they were about to stop, right at buses still moving. So, the point is that the SCP is a hypocrite and against rail,
I'm not really sure if they're against rail per se, but I guess, I see your points and what you mean, and which they mean well, but some of these decisions might be resulting in slower boarding times in general. Again, I see the reasoning why they're making these decisions, but every decision has some sort of drawback. Even though you're stopping them, making sure the boarding process is more stable, you're losing time to get people on and off.
I know.
Well, speaking of Alstom, I've heard that they are sending 72 new rail cars to the DR, which are most of them are the Alstom Metropolis 900 for the metro line in Santo Domingo, in the capital city of Santo Domingo.
It sounds good,
Yeah.
Well,
But there's a new problem that's coming around right now, which is the roundhouse at Santo Domingo is already full. The capacity is already full. There's no capacity left. So there's going to be more rail cars, more Alstom rail cars in the coming years.
So basically, they're building. Well, what do you mean by roundhouse? Is it a traditional steam engine roundhouse, or just a layover yard with just a bunch of straight houses?
It's just a rail. It's kind of like, it's not a roundhouse traditionally. It's more like a rail storage or something like base camp, for example.
Yeah. So I guess the thing to do there is see if there's any available room at either terminus station, and then add a few more tracks. Because the thing on my home road, the Long Island Road, they recently extended the Ronkonkoma yard by a few tracks by taking up some extra green space over there in order to store some more trains that were going to go to Grand Central. That was more of an issue of getting more trains on the line in general, not so much of purchasing more rail cars. But yeah, I would definitely look into expanding the yard. The thing that makes me, I'm at least a little bit interested in the 9000 series now that I have it open on Wikipedia, is that they ended production in 2008, or at least entered service in 2008. So it's interesting how they're utilizing the same model from a little over a decade ago to expand service, which I guess makes sense. You don't want to introduce something that's brand new to a bunch of mechanics who are used to the same stock over time. But I'm trying to see if this will be replacing anything else on the route.
No, those rail cars are actually the same model. They're all the same model. The ones that are actually entered in 2008, that the first ones were delivered in 2008. They're the same model.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Although that leads me to a point. I don't know how frequent this is or how common this is, but I'm usually an advocate of rolling stock diversity, in which you have at least two different types of rail cars on a system. So if there's a problem with one type of rail car, and if that problem is so bad where it causes them to be the whole fleet to be taken out of service, the rest of the subway system or metro system isn't crippled because you still have the other class of rail cars that's running well. Now, from what I can tell, since these have been in service since 2008, they seem to be doing a pretty good job. But if some sort of major flaw were to be found in these rail cars, and that would require each rail car being taken out of service, that would result in some pretty big delays because they're the only stock on the roster. That happened in New York City a few times with the R179s. When they were first built, they had some major defects, like the coupler stopped working, that resulted in the whole fleet of R179s being taken out of service. Thankfully, because the New York City subway system is so large, they have a bunch of other subway classes from different manufacturers that still run just well, and they can provide additional service. I mean, if they were to have the entire New York City system run on nothing but R179s, and then something like that happened where the whole fleet was out of service, New York's economy would stop overnight.
Oh, that's true.
That's why I feel it would be important to have at least two different types of railcar classes on a metro system, a commuter rail system, an intercity system, you name it.
Well, the problem is that the metro system is run by the government, by the way, and they're not, because one metro rail car, one rolling stock, there's no rolling stock diversity. There's not a diverse classes of rail cars here in the DR. I believe they actually have
Valjet High
on one model just because of
just kidding.
it's because the cost.
Hey, Brightline,
That's
Pingy fan.
one of the main points too.
Brightline, Pingy fan. My wife Valjet High.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Pingy fan. I'm going to bring it up with you. My wife is from the Philippines.
Fancy thing. I like the name.
She is from the Philippines where they have a lot of commuter rail, actually, you know?
Hey, can you subscribe to my YouTube
I've heard.
channel, please?
Oh, well,
Please.
I'll put a link to your YouTube channel for them
I'm not
later
a train
on.
lover, but
I actually, Pingy fan, Brightline, y'all are going to laugh about it, but I actually got into rail fanning. My wife.
well, David therapy is not just bikes.
Those are rail girls are actually unusual these days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Tell me about it.
Like to be honest, I got her into rail fanning. Like, she got a couple of rail fanning videos on her YouTube channel.
Especially David's missed opportunity to case.
Oh, don't need to rub it
That
in.
little crying baby.
But let's get back onto the train stuff. Like, I'll be on it. Like, all the stuff that's been happening lately is crazy. Also, I am going to bring it up. The airlines are freaking out right now because of Brightline. Am I right?
So, Brightline?
When it comes to rail line,
I can definitely see the case for any air service that runs between Orlando and Miami, which, oddly enough, I don't think that's a common market for airlines per se. But if Brightline were to be brought into other parts of the country, that's when you'll see the short service airlines becoming nervous.
Oh, I know. And
Fortunately, well, yeah, I mean, that's what's going on in France right now. A few months ago, France basically terminated any airline that's under 400 miles in favor of intercity and high-speed rail service. Now, the thing with the U.S. that makes me a little concerned is that instead of either providing high-speed rail or even night train service, they just say, let's just connect it to an airport connecting station and let the airlines do not even long-distance flights, just intercity flights, like Philly to Myrtle Beach. I had to do that one because there's no rail service. Or stuff like D.C. to Chicago, New York to Boston. Areas that could easily be served by intercity rail. Aren't because they want to have airlines competitive or something like that.
hey, I got a question. Yeah, I've heard there's a Tom Grossi. You ever heard of him, right? He's not a rail fan or anything, but he's an NFL fan. That he's actually traversing the country. He's visiting 30 NFL stadiums in 30 days. I know that's unrelated to trains and stuff. But in one of his videos, he claimed that there is no flights between Jacksonville and Tampa. Really? Can you believe that? No flights between Jacksonville and Tampa. So I think Brightline can open a market between Jacksonville and Tampa.
Oh, absolutely. I think I remember hearing about Jacksonville eventually being a much later Brightline phase in Florida after Tampa. I mean, the trackage is already there. They basically have to do what they did before, just upgrade the trackage, and it's a straight line right up to Jacksonville from Miami, as well as Orlando and Tampa.
Mm-hmm. To be honest,
yes.
The thing I don't think is smart by Brightline that I would say a big brain move. Instead of going to not Orlando, but Tampa next, they need to go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville would be way closer and way easier. You know what I mean?
It would be way easier to simply convert and upgrade the existing right-of-way, but I think they're going to Tampa first because they figure they already have a highway median by using the middle of I-4 and figure out the Tampa Union Station stuff later. And more specifically, especially as a New Yorker with hearing about a lot of Northeasterners moving to Florida, a lot of people are moving to Tampa rather than Jacksonville. So they're probably extending from Orlando to Tampa because of a shorter distance, even though it means building new track, and for a much higher population demographic.
Now here,
a lot of Florida's largest universities are between Orlando and Tampa too.
Now here,
don't forget Miami.
That too.
Absolutely.
Now here, Gene, what I'm thinking going to happen if they do Orlando to Tampa, they're probably going to try to get those tracks up to 150. I would not be surprised at that. Sorry, Brightline, you can say what you were going to say.
Okay. By the way, speaking of Brightline, well, what I was going to say is that what's going on with Brightline West? I haven't heard such news in quite a while. All I've heard is proposed routes or something.
I think they're still waiting for the official groundbreaking ceremony or a few other things to go on, or in the engineering world we call it notice to proceed.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that makes me concerned about Brightline West is that they recently released a few renderings. I don't know if the whole line's going to be single tracked, but maybe they're starting with that for easier construction.
Oh wait,
costs.
no, it's not going to be single track. A friend of mine who know about it said that it's not going to be single track. It's not. He said that it's going to be high speed. There no going to be single track. He done said that.
So it's going to be double tracked?
Yep, going to be double track all the way.
All right, good to know.
And
the thing that concerns me is about Bright Line West in particular is that they originally proposed the Siemens Volaro Novo and some of their concept arts, and it was a nose version of it too. It had this flat front. Well, not so much flat, but it was more like a trapezoid rather than your traditional cone. So that was the main rendering for Bright Line West, a brand new Siemens Volaro Novo, newest high-speed train set on the market in the world, and recently for a press release, they replaced that with, out of all things, the Avelia Liberty.
Well, there's one thing why they actually replaced that. It's a marketing strategy. If one company doesn't do a train set, then they'll have to take another company. They did it. Southwest used a similar version of that, using their going to Airbus and said, "Look, we're looking for another new aircraft," and they actually proposed the Airbus A220. But Boeing was like, "Nope, you're not going to do that." And so they go to Southwest and said, "Listen, we're dealing with the 737 MAX issues. Can we give us another year?" And so Southwest actually did.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. I think that would have going on right now. You know.
Yeah, that's the same strategy, but this time with Brightline.
Mm.
Although, going back to the high-speed train sets a little bit, funnily enough, the same, I want to say literally one day after Amtrak announced that they were delaying the Avelia Liberties, Siemens released a promotional video saying, "We're building high-speed train sets in the U.S." So hopefully Brightline could use one of the Siemens sets that they're promoting, even if it's not the exact same Volaro Novo that they've had in concept arts. I just prefer the use of a relatively new train set, specifically with the distributed traction motors, in which the cab is built into the coach car instead of just Avelia Liberty after Avelia Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there's even a Canadian high-speed rail proposal that has an Avelia Liberty in recent times, but I don't think that's an official railroad, let alone proposal yet.
My thing is that I think we got something big coming, you know? Speaking of that, PO98 and PO... Here, team, PO89 and PO98 are both running late right now. Like the Palmetto, he over an hour late. Oof.
Yeah. It's not the worst I've seen, though.
He have not even passed my house yet.
Due to freight delays, right?
Probably,
trains, right?
Yeah, probably CXX doing.
Strange.
PSR shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
It can be PSR shenanigans because PSR I thought CSX has get away with.
They have gotten rid of it, but they're still trying to get back up from the messed up from Hunter Harrison.
They use one-man crews at Selkirk, which is one of their largest yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're trying to get back up from all the screw up from PSR, and it's very hard.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult in the short run, but in the long run, they're going to get used to it.
But to be honest, the new guy who is the president of CXX used to work for Ford,
Yeah.
And I heard a lot of good stuff about him.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Although, the thing that's interesting about CSX, and this was before they got the new CEO, is that program where Union Pacific wanted to replace the conductor in a pickup truck?
Yep, got sawed down to the ground.
That was actually CSX's idea. It was mentioned in an STB hearing.
The only reason they backed off from it because the STB started cracking down on all the BS that
Yeah.
Like after that train wreck that happened in Ohio, like after that happened, the STP started cracking down,
At least they got more attention for it. Yeah, but this whole thing with CSX with the with the conductors and the pickup trucks, that was mentioned in the SCB hearing about 1 or 2 years ago, way before East Palestine.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is that they backed off from that, but let's be honest. I done said it on Dimitri live stream. If y'all remember, I said everything is going to get worse before everything gets better. I remember that. Y'all remember what I said on his live stream?
Yeah, I actually remember that, just like if it were yesterday.
Speaking of, I am hoping that Demetrius come back. Like, God, we need him back. Am I right?
4th of July is around the corner. We need to do a ARC lounge again.
Exactly.
On a server.
Exactly. But yeah, now
let's go down to New York. I've heard of a new proposal that I like. It's about the Empire State Corridor.
Mm-hmm.
It's a high-speed rail corridor. I haven't shared the video yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that offhand. I've just heard of various upgrades to, I guess, basically do what they're doing with the Lincoln service, upgrade it from 90 to 110, 125, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard of, well, I've heard of a bunch of proposals for full-on high-speed rail service, but nothing major, nothing serious. As of right now, they just want to upgrade the track to higher speeds.
Well, I've heard of
what they're doing in St. Louis.
I've heard of a proposal that I have actually liked, and I've watched that video about the proposal. It's a route that goes from Penn Station all the way up to Niagara Falls. That's right near the Canadian border. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That would be pretty good in itself. I'm not going to lie.
There's going to be a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges in the middle of the way, constructing that, let's say, upgrading that service to high-speed standards.
Mostly the curves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the curves.
I actually agree with y'all because, one, we got to improve our rail infrastructure in the U.S. because if we don't, we're eventually going to have a falling down of our rail system. And funny thing is, this is what I'm going to bring up. We can't put everything on trucks. We can't. At all. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because, and thing is that, being that, I need to have you two ever heard of the Reddit page called r/fcars?
Yeah, I've heard of. I've never been into Reddit, but at least I know there's a Reddit page about cars.
There's a Reddit page. There's a subreddit about Brightline too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very active though.
To be honest, I will be looking forward to when Brightline open Miami to Orlando.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I got the pop.
I'll be in there, city service.
Guys, I got the popcorn ready watching the airline poop their pants. I'm just ready to watch it like burns down, you know?
Oh, by the way, the United States sanctions of China, the U.S.-China sanctions, boy, they're actually working. Well, restrict the tariffs of, well, the U.S. that, you know, what was I going to say? Okay. You know the tariffs that Trump just put on China?
Back over.
Well, look what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's about to affect the entire nation, China right now. China is about to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
And now, in its place, Mexico is about to rise. Our southern U.S. neighbor.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, even though Trump was a bad person, he did kind of screw over one of our worst enemies. But
I remember he tried to defund Amtrak once or twice.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, Trump, Biden, I don't care about them. I knew either one of them got in office, I knew we were still going to get screwed, you know?
Yes. By the way, that's going to benefit the rail sector because CPKC and, well, CPKC has a rail extension down in Mexico and Ferromex too.
Mm-hmm.
I heard something about CPKC even looking into starting passenger services in some regions of Mexico. So
yes, that's true. That's true. It's been confirmed.
Amtrak as well. So Amtrak would could go down to Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
International, everyone? Am I right?
Closest I've heard was Montreal because that was included in one of their updated Nexus map, but Mexico City would be pretty good too. It's one of the most populous cities in all of North America.
But
Even more than
in order to do that, Mexico should have its own nationalized passenger rail service, just like Amtrak and Via Rail.
They used to have that with M2M until 1996 when they privatized it, and unfortunately the freight rails that took it over weren't really interested in long-distance passenger rails, so they discontinued it. What I feel they should have done is that they should have given it to smaller companies, so this way they could handle each region of passenger rail service rather than focusing on the whole country at once. Kind of like what JR did, or kind of like what Japan did to JR Group, in which each portion of Japan focused on or had their own little private railway to focus on operations rather than all of Japan at once.
Pansy fan, bright one. I want to bring that up real quick.
Speaking of rail networks, the DR has confirmed its freight locomotive. It's a Euro-Dual system, a Euro-Dual locomotive made by Bombardier.
I think the Euro-Dual is made. Is the Euro-Dual made by Stadler? Let me double check.
Now, hopefully they don't go with the pin and hook couplers like the buffer couplers. I'd rather them go with the knuckle coupler or something more advanced, you know?
Yeah. I don't know about the couplers.
Because I am so interested in seeing what happened with them having knuckle couplers on those things. But let me bring it up. It's sad because you've been able to have a train go from Canada all the way down to Central America. Like, literally. You've been able to
go. Well, they could have gone with. Well, they could go from Alaska all the way down to Panama. So
problem is that we have not built a connection to Alaska to connect to the Alaska Railroad from Canada yet. That needs to happen, you know?
Yeah, true.
Like, my point is that we need to have this stuff happen. Like, we can't keep on shipping stuff by boat and truck up to Alaska. You know? It's too costly.
Or at least he highlighted a rail project to connect the northern part of Anchorage, Alaska, over to the rest of the North American mainland through Canada. I don't think that was started by Trump, though. I think that was around as a Wikipedia page for a few years before, but that was a project he was looking into.
Yeah, that project has been... It's a little bit old, by the way. I remember the Russians were trying to build a bridge between the Bering Siberia and Alaska.
The thing is that I will bring it up that you guys might agree with me on that we need to build a track up there to try to go to war with or China, you know?
Wow, David's getting political.
I'm not sure about that. It's possible that we can connect Russia, Eurasia with the rest of the Americas, but
definitely a lot better trade networks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
but I'm pretty kind of skeptical for that project. So,
not to mention all the engineering challenges that are involved in building a tunnel across
or a
minus 20 degrees on a daily basis.
Possibly a bridge that can link the two continents together.
Now, I will be on it. Like, when I was younger, I did map out a route that would be pretty good for trains coming from Canada to Alaska. When I was younger, to be honest, I'm good with maps. You know.
Same here.
I think we should actually link up with Canada. From via Seattle to via British Columbia.
To be honest,
the only province that's in the way.
To be honest, the farther track I found that go up near Alaska is right there in the Yukon, right before you get into Yukon in the area of Alberta that I can't remember. but in an area I have marked down where they can actually start from, like there are two areas. But my point is that BC Rail did have planned back in the 1990s to connect to Alaska. But, that got screwed when they got bought out,
Interesting.
Jane, Jane, the area of BC Rail that they were planning to bring up to connect up to Alaska were already electrified.
Yeah, because they had electric service back then too.
Yeah.
Although I think they got rid of the electric service way before it got bought out by CN.
No, the electrified service ended in 2002, right after CN bought them.
Interesting.
So,
I wonder why CN didn't continue that.
Because they thought it cheaper with diesel locomotives.
Really?
Oh.
But explains everything,
That's typical North American railroading for you.
Heck, let's not forget.
Putting up the wires.
Now here, Jane, y'all gonna be crazy at it, but Newfoundland had a narrow gauge rail system that they kept on using all the way up until 1995. They had a narrow gauge freight rail system in Newfoundland, Canada. And guess who owned it? Guess who owned it?
Canadian National.
Nope, CN.
Yeah, CN.
Yeah, that's the same guy. Those are the same guy. CN, Canadian National.
Or technically, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. But CN used to have a narrow gauge freight operating that they used until the 1990s. Like every other freight railroad down in North America, in the lower 48, had quit using narrow gauge freight by the 1980s,
Even further than that, most railroads usually transitioned to standard gauge in the 1880s. But the Rio Grande was one of the last major narrow gauge railroads in Colorado. I think they saw revenue freight service with their steam engines until the 60s. But to your point, yeah, the Newfoundland Railroad was actually one of the last narrow gauge freight operations, especially by a Class 1, in North America. Mm. Now, they say that they got rid of it because trucking was a lot faster, but
we all know
if the train is slow, it's better than no train.
Here, Fancy, we all know the truth. It was based on corruption and money, We all know the truth. Like, Jane, I noted that Newfoundland started getting run down after that. Like, after the rail lines were abandoned, stuff started getting run down. And here, Jane, what I said that they should have done, they should have standard gauged it,
I think they narrow gauged it initially because of the engineering challenges, once again, for going through a bunch of mountains. Because if you look at a map of Newfoundland, it looks like it ran from St. John's to Channel Port, French name I don't know how to pronounce. But theoretically, it should be a straight line right along the coast. But there are so many mountains and curves that it pushed it further and further up towards the mainland. And because of that, that's also where the highway, what's the name of it? Trans-Canada Highway, it basically runs pretty close to the original right-of-way of the Newfoundland Railway. Because the railway was there first, and the towns were built up around it. And that's not just in Newfoundland. That's basically the story of any western city in North America. The railway was there first, towns were built up near it, and when they replaced it with the highway basically ran through the same areas as the railroad did.
Now here,
Take I-95, for example.
Now here,
there was actually a rail line that linked Miami, Florida, all the way up to New York City, and possibly all the way up to Maine.
Multiple rail lines, as a matter of fact. Not sure about Maine, but I've also heard of some long-distance services from Miami terminating in Boston instead of New York. Closest thing we have now is Silver Meteor and Silver Star to go between those two cities.
Now, I will bring it up.
In terms of interstates that replaced railways, I have an entire 1 hour long video. It was a huge project to work on, but it's called, what's the name of it? Railroad Origins of Interstate Highways, something like that. And I basically go through every single interstate highway in the entire U.S. and showcase what railway alternatives used to be there and are currently there.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen some part of that video, Pansy, and I'll be honest, you did a good job on it.
Thank you.
But I'll be honest. What I'll be honest about is that here, Jane, I know that every time we get rid of a rail system and put a road in its place, towns dies off. Like literally, like have y'all ever noted that small town and medium-sized towns start dying off the moment we abandon a rail line and replace them with highways and roads?
Yeah, because most of those interstates don't really have a direct connection, or they don't run through the center town. The thing with the railways is that they usually stop right in the middle of the town, so this way people have an easy way to travel from one place to another.
And
that's another thing with railway main lines too. Obviously you have your faster express services that go from one city to another, but you also have local runs that stopped at all the smaller towns and connected with the larger ones. Even along the same main line, there's a difference between a local train and something like the Broadway Limited. You have the Broadway Limited that stops at all the major cities and towns like Philly, Harrisburg, and then right to Pittsburgh. But then you also have a bunch of local services that run in between to either connect nearby small towns or to go to the larger towns that are also served by the long-distance routes. And that's something we desperately need in the U.S. Yes, it would require more traffic and a lot more stops for the local run, but it's still another option to connect every single town to some sort of rail system instead of just
exactly. And that with big car corporation. Let me break it down for you, and you guys might agree with me or did agree with me. Cars, their biggest enemy is commuter rail and walkability. Like big car company and insurance company and car mechanic and dealership, their biggest enemy is walkability, reliable transit. You want to know why? It's because if you have reliable transit, walkability, like where you can walk anywhere, grab a streetcar, commuter rail, or bus and get to point A to point B without having to drive, that means you will never have to buy a car. You will never have to get insurance. And the thing is that big car company and car stop, mechanic shop, and insurance company, they hate that. They hate it because it will take their money from them, you know?
Same thing with gas companies. That would be a pretty big dent on oil companies as well.
Exactly, because the thing, big car company, they knows it, and that's why they always get people that car lover and suburbanite, and also I'll be honest, NIMBY, they get all of them together and get them to protest against anything that involves trains. Anything involved trains, they get them to protest against it.
Anything that involves not using a car.
Exactly. I need to bring that up with Demetria when he ever do his live streams again, because it's something that I need to bring up with him, because it would be a big eye opener. Because let's not get the GM trade car scandal. And funny thing is, the one company that actually got out of unscarred was Ford. Because Ford also, and I'm going to call them out, Ford also was part of GM trade car scandal. And they got out of unscarred because they were much more sneakier with it than Chevy and GMC,
Well, the thing is, I don't think Ford is a part of GM per se, and I don't think there are a lot of Ford buses. The whole thing with the GM streetcar theory, I guess, is that GM basically owned the monopoly on all the bus systems that were used to replace streetcars.
And funny thing is that the government actually fined it. If you're saying that it's a hoax, then why did the government actually find them and gave them a penalty, Meaning, it's not fake. It actually happened. And funny thing is, it was a slap on the list, meaning they got away with it. You know what I mean? Also, I'll bring up, did y'all heard about that submarine imploding?
Heard about that too.
To be honest, a lot of people are making memes about it. I don't know. I don't know where you guys stand on it. Do you think it's funny or not?
I don't think it's funny.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny.
Me either.
Disrespecting people who unfortunately lost their lives on that submarine.
To be honest, I agree with y'all, but a lot of people are making fun because the people who died in it were rich. You know?
I mean, I heard about that as well, but I'm not going
The
to.
Titanic just
Yeah.
100 years ago, the Titanic actually sank, and there was like this meme that said,
Hey,
something.
Hey, Pinsy fan, you there? Or not Pinsy, but
Absolutely.
Brightline, you there,
I'm
bud?
still here. I'm still here.
All right, what? Can you say it again? You were cracking up on my end.
100 years ago, the Titanic sunk. More than 100 years later, that Titanic is still claiming lives of those 5 people. Not even aboard the ship, and the Titanic is just like, I don't know. How can I tell you?
You know what messed up? One of the guys who actually died in the submarine was actually married to a person whose family member actually survived the Titanic.
Oh.
So that's some weird luck right there. You know what I mean?
There was even a YouTuber that actually did not go to the submarine.
And you know what crazy? I'm just gonna bring it up, and you guys might be crazy. The Simpsons actually predicted this again.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, I heard that too.
They done it again. But to be honest, all the stuff that are happening right now are crazy. Oh, and like that failed coup attempt in Russia. Did any of y'all heard about that?
Oh, the Wagner coup.
Yep. Was that crazy or what?
This world is getting a little bit crazier.
Anybody up for World War III?
I just want more trains. I just want more Brightline.
Agree, me too.
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, let's not deal with World War III because it could involve nukes and such.
Agree.
If World War III starts, we will never have high-speed rail. Never.
Agree.
We might just. Oh gosh.
Hey, well, anybody up to rebuild the rail system after this, like a post-apocalyptic railroad, and rebuild the rail system from the ground up?
Maybe a high-speed underground railroad.
Dude, I'm just trying to be funny right now with that. Y'all know what I mean.
Yeah,
but
it's not that. It's not that funny, but it's kind of scary when you think about it. Those nukes at the U.S.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'll bring it up at that I'll be glad when we finally get high speed across the U.S. Like, it's only a matter of time before our city picks it up. Like Minnesota, like, the Twin Cities in Minnesota, they're actually thinking about high speed rail.
Yeah, they just approved Northern Lights Express, which isn't the traditional high-speed rail with something like Europe or Eurostar. It's still relatively fast intercity service between Minneapolis and Duluth. Service that Amtrak hasn't provided since the 80s.
I know, and that big. That's going to be big because our cities are finally seeing what Florida is doing, and they're starting to say, hey, we want this. And here, another thing. Savannah to Atlanta, they're already thinking about building high-speed rail from Savannah to Atlanta.
Yeah, I heard about that. I hope it goes well.
And they're talking about building high-speed rail from Atlanta to Charlotte, to be on it.
That one, I think, is actually being operated by Brightline.
Yeah.
I heard something about that recently. That's still a corridor they're looking at next.
Now, here, Jane, I do see Atlanta, Georgia, to be a high-speed rail hub in the future. Like, to be honest, the biggest city in the South.
In the Southeast.
Yes, in the Southeast. So it would be a big, vital, and I mean vital, high-speed hub. Then,
yeah, because from here you can go to places like Savannah, Chattanooga, Nashville, Birmingham, New Orleans, Charlotte.
Amtrak better construct a new high-speed rail corridor called the Southeast Rail Corridor.
To be
The
honest,
Southeast is really underrated when it comes to potential rail opportunities.
I
Especially
know.
looking at what they had before.
Yeah, like
I think they have to start from Washington, D.C. all the way down to Atlanta, Georgia, connecting the Northeast Corridor.
heck, me and Brightline, me and Penzi fan were talking about that earlier before we invited you online. Like, we would talk about, like, area that could be connected. And here I'm thinking, Charleston, like my city of Charleston, the biggest city in South Carolina.
One of the biggest cities in the Southeast, probably.
And thing is, even though we're an old historic city, because we're one of the oldest cities in the South, my point is that if we work everything right, we could have high-speed rail connecting almost all of South Carolina. Heck, you remember that post I made on Facebook that I still have tagged? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I know the post you're talking about.
My thing is that a lot of cities in Charleston could have commuter rail. Heck, even Florence, like Florence is a big city in itself. Even though it's a farming and industrial city because they got a steel mill and big farming and lumber up there, they could have a commuter rail system. Am I right?
Right. The South is also considered the tourist belt, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah, in between Louisiana and South Florida. Florida is a tourist state, and also Louisiana. Both of them are southern economies that are actually growing in the South.
And that's the thing. What we need to do is invest in our rail system. We need to quit, trying to invest in roads. Like, how much more are we going to invest before we start realizing we can't keep cramming everything into our road system? Am I right?
Yeah. I know for a fact that Amtrak is trying to be profitable, but there's another way that Amtrak could be profitable. Divide Amtrak into regional rail services like Amtrak North, Amtrak South, Amtrak Midwest.
Basically, what happened to JR Group from JNR? They split it up into different regions.
Similar to that.
Now, problem is that the long distance trains.
We can actually divide the long distance train into two corridors. Well, Amtrak Northwest could actually, into two corridors. One that's called between the Amtrak Midwest and Amtrak Northwest. Yeah, Midwest and Amtrak Northwest, just in case.
Mm-hmm. But to be honest, we need to invest in our rail system. Am I right?
Yes. Yep.
We can't keep on building one more lane, bro. One more lane.
Yep.
Like, we've seen how it is in Canada. I'm going to call out Canada for this because Canada is worse with it, like with Highway 101. Am I right?
Oh, Highway 101, the one that actually ended the northern terminus of I-95, aka the Highway 95.
Like,
in this case,
I think the largest highway in the world is actually in Toronto.
It is. We are talking about Highway 101.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, I'll be honest about it, but Highway 101 is an example of what happened when you let car nuts take over. Am I right?
Well, I'm actually hoping for the U.S. to create the Federal Railroad Administration to take control of all the tracks in the United States and And by the way, found a new company that can maintain the tracks and also create some slots for these freight companies, like they did in the Netherlands.
They give them enough funding to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
yes,
true.
nationalizing the tracks is usually something that's talked about amongst many rail fans. Similar to what Britain did, they gave all their track ownership to a company called Network Rail, and other companies basically operate on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the privatized freight lines could coexist with the national track network.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, what I'll be on about is that we need to focus on, fixing our rail system. Like, saying is that we've been seeing rail lines get abandoned left and right with so much potential, and they're saying, yeah, there's no more potential with that rail line, but yes, there is,
Yeah, the problem is that due to the Wall Street beans. Well, the beans in Wall Street. The bean counters in Wall Street don't know the potential because all they think is
money,
cut
money,
costs,
money.
cut corners. But in Wendy's, you don't do that. They don't cut corners. Just kidding.
Mm-hmm. But problem is that it is Wall Street. Wall Street is the problem because look at how far we have gone down because of Wall Street. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Boeing situation all over again. This time, it's the railroads.
Mm-hmm. And that's the scary reality of it, that all stuff that happening now, we could have stopped that if, we decided to, invest it in our rail system, stop building everything for the car,
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm feeling a little bit thirsty right now. I'm gonna drink some water.
All right, Brightline. But Pinsy fan, am I right, bud?
Absolutely.
Because
No.
let's be honest, we keep on building everything for the car, and we keep on destroying people houses. Like in Texas, you heard about them widening that interstate? I can't remember.
I think so.
I can't remember what interstate it is, but it's in Fort Worth or Dallas. But it's the biggest one in the U.S. And Jane is about to get even wider. And Jane is
opportunity for a railway median.
And Jane is they're going to be tearing down 14 schools, 100 businesses, and 1,000 homes.
Sorry to hear that.
To be honest, these people, if I was them, I would just storm into the commerce room saying, enough with the highway lane widening. We're sick and tired of it. That's what I would do,
You know what? I haven't heard about that in the news until now. Especially considering what a large impact it has on the community.
And
what happened to I-69, by the way?
Oh,
They're still constructing that stupid highway.
Oh yeah, that thing. Like, I'm just going to bring up. Everybody complained about California high-speed rail, but no one complains about Interstate 69. Like, even Alan Pfister did a video talking about that. Am I right?
Yeah, he did. He mentioned it.
And that's the problem. Like the older generation, they're brainwashed taking car is good and train it bad, when in reality it's the complete opposite. But am I right?
Yeah, so basically. Okay, Patrick Fan, what about the California High Speed Rail Authority? They just I've heard they actually started from from Bakersfield to Merced. But
the thing that's interesting about that is that there's actually another channel named Banks Rail. He just started a series about California high-speed rail a few months ago. And he stated that the reasoning behind that is that most people who voted yes for the high-speed rail project were actually from the Central Valley between Merced and Bakersfield. And most of the people who where the railway runs with the most density, i.e. LA to San Diego, initially voted no. So they built in an area that, albeit has less dense population, they will be more in favor of high-speed rail, whereas if they started in a region where most of them would say no, the project would have never got started.
Mm-hmm. That is a good point. Now, here...
That's kind of makes sense for why they actually started from Bakersfield to Merced in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's another reason why, because of Caltrans, because Caltrans are already electrifying. Let's not forget about that. With Caltrans,
San Jose.
mm-hmm. To be honest, after they get the line from Bakersfield done, they're going to probably try to connect to San Francisco. Los Angeles is probably later on down the line, but after they get the first section complete, they're probably going to connect San Francisco next.
Yeah, that's the plan. I think that's part of phase 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the closest city, so.
And phase 3 could actually go from Los Angeles from Bakersfield all the way down to San Diego.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But my point is that I think San Francisco is the major city that California high-speed rail will be connected to, you know?
Either them or San Jose. Well, not San Jose. Either them or Sacramento. I think I heard something about Sacramento getting part of phase 2. If I remember correctly.
To be on it, the easier route to get done after they get that section done first will be down to San Francisco, because San Francisco already got all the infrastructure up and ready, you know?
Right. Although one thing I find a little bit funny about that whole corridor is that because it's integrated with commuter rail, California high-speed rail is going to be running, I think, at a top speed of 79, and they will be running
at least 120. It'll be 120.
Well, yes, but I think they have to slow down to 79 because most of the Caltrain route will be running through grade crossings. The area in the Central Valley is grade separated, but the whole Caltrain route, they still have a lot of grade crossings that they and California high-speed rail will have to go through. So it'll be kind of funny to see this big, fancy high-speed train going through a railway crossing. It's a little town between San Fran and San Jose.
Mm-hmm. But to be honest, the only reason why they have to slow down is because, let's be honest, a lot of people who are car-centric will protest against it. Am I right?
Yeah, that's what initially got Brightline degraded from 125 to 80 throughout most of its route. And
that problem, we gotta stand up and start calling the car folks out. Like, if we start...
No. The reason why they were opposed to that is because there are lots of rail crossings that it's impossible to upgrade them. We have to close them, or we have to, in order to grade separate, in order for Brightline to be grade separated, you have to build a bridge or a tunnel under them. There are some grade crossings that you can't build a bridge or a tunnel under them, under the rail line, because the distance between the intersection and the crossing are too short. Well, that's the thing about that whole region. It's so overdeveloped with a bunch of suburbs and other stuff like that, is that basically you have all of these suburban roads going over the tracks, and it's like, one crossing every half a mile at most? So every half a mile you have a different crossing, so that increases the risk of getting into a vehicle accident. So I say for something that's more than a mile or more than half a mile apart, I would say try to consolidate some of them. You don't need that many grade crossings.
I know. Problem is, you're going to have people who are car lovers going to, be and complain about it,
Yeah.
And also, I bet that Alan Church is going to make a video about Brightline and criticizing those rail crossings, because
I'm probably going to make a response video to that. Yeah, I'm not going to let my boy Brightline be roasted by Alan Fisher.
Oh!
I don't mean to be harsh against him, but I'm probably going to make a response video if he mentions Brightline, because I've gotten into a lot of arguments in his server about Brightline. But
Oh, God. Hold your horses now.
hold your horses. Yeah, whenever he makes a video, I'll say, okay, this is what I feel is okay. This one I'm not so sure about, but I'll try to keep it in a civil manner.
Wow.
It's definitely something that I've appreciated over time, and it's definitely something that I'll step to the support of whenever it's called into question.
Oh my! I did bust it out laughing over that. Brightline, I am willing to react to you. Do a reaction video if you ever do that. If you ever do that, I will do a reaction video. Pingy fan, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's not going to be too intense. If anything, Alan's video will probably have better editing skills than me, but it'll be more of a civil follow-up or response video.
The only thing I can criticize Brightline for is because of their parking garages. And I bet Alan Fisher would actually try to criticize that, too.
He would, but the thing with the parking garages is that I think Brightline in particular also built up a lot of new apartments near the stations, and that was one of their main selling points, which, to be fair, that was pretty much the selling point of any railroad at the time, but they also built a lot of nearby real estate close to the railway so they could make profit off of that as well. And I think the parking lots not only serve the stations, but they also serve the apartments that are nearby.
Now,
the thing about Brightline is that its service is so successful that the passenger rail service is profitable, not just the real estate version. So it goes to show that when passenger rail is done right, it can be profitable, and in addition to being beneficial and good for the environment and all that good stuff.
I would like to see Alan Fisher's take on that too. So his Brightline video would be interesting to watch. So
all right, Valley Poo.
Big face doll.
But I'll be honest about this, but Alan Fisher do make them good video talking about stuff. Now, saying that I would make what video where he was talking about Denver, Colorado, and about how they have a good commuter rail system, but bad implementation where they have wasteland parking lots.
Like intermediate stops, yes, I can see the point, but the terminus stations are where they make up for it, because the terminus stations in places like Boulder, I think, I've seen a lot of news footage, and it's usually either right in the center of town or right on the outskirts. But to Alan's point, a lot of the stations that are in between, those are located in the middle of nowhere. That's the main area where Denver's RTD needs to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And I also remember seeing something in Wikipedia where an extension for something like the N line won't open until, wait for it, 2064.
2060
extension for commuter rail will not open until 2064. I don't know why, but that's what Wikipedia says.
I'm not gonna lie, that is funny. But to be honest, we need to start looking at commuter rail. Heck, to be honest, I said one Brightline chart doing service from Miami to Orlando. Other cities are going to look at it like other comparable cities are going to look at it saying, hey, we want it, bring it to us. You know what I mean? It's only a matter of time, and the airlines are freaking out about that because, let's be honest, all these smaller cities that have short-haul flight can be done with inner-city rail, and saying is that Brightline is probably going to be saying that put the short-haul airline in a coffin, you know?
Yeah. That was the main reason behind Texas Central Railway as well, since that was serving a much larger airline demographic between Dallas and Houston.
Southwest is against Texas Central right now. They're trying to kill. Yeah, they killed Texas TGV, and they were trying to repeat history again.
Mm-hmm. The point is that Texas is too corrupt. But funny thing is, the one who kept on denying Texas Central, you remember that one guy who kept on denying Texas Central and said that Texas Central is not a railroad? He going to jail.
Interesting.
You remember the one who kept on denying them and making it take a long time for Texas Central to go into limbo? He right now in jail time for corruption.
Interesting.
So you gotta love how the cookie crumble with him, you know? Like,
Those were the Texan Republicans that actually impeached him.
I know. He was the guy who screwed over Texas Central.
Yep.
So justice have finally been served, so I hope he enjoyed jail time. You know? So I hope he enjoyed being in jail.
To go back to the Denver region, I remember hearing something about a front-range passenger rail service, which I think is going to be privately funded like Brightline, but I'm not sure if that's final yet. So that's another thing that they could look into as well.
To be honest, the
front-range commuter rail service is going to go between Denver, Cheyenne, and Pueblo. That whole corridor, the front-range corridor, they call it. Although Amtrak is looking to provide service in the exact same region. So it'll be interesting how that plays out as well.
To be honest, that would be another good area for high-speed rail, you know? That would be another... Like, because of how it's set up, that would be a perfect area for high-speed rail in itself. You know what I mean?
Hey, why is Amtrak not trying to expand the Excel Express all nationwide? Like, there should be an Excel version, the same Excel Express that runs on the Northeast Corridor. They should expand it to every single state, like from that has a similar corridor, for example.
That would also include electrifying lines, which, interestingly enough, I don't know about Amtrak, but Bombardier did produce a jet-powered version or diesel-powered version of the Excel Express, so this way it can run on non-electrified corridors.
It technically was a turbo line.
In a bunch of regions in the U.S., it was also advertised and considered by Europe, Britain, and I think Egypt. But let me pull this up. But it was actually promoted internationally.
Jane, it was a turbo train. It what you call a turbo train. Amtrak actually did run turbo trains in New York State up until 2003. Y'all might not know it.
RTL turboliners, but this is basically a diesel version of the Acela. It was called the jet train.
I know, but it actually used the same concept.
Right.
It technically do count under turbo train, you know, because it's technically the same thing when you just think about it. And here the funny thing, Amtrak could have still did their turbo set, but you know, corruption, you know.
Yeah, I never understood why Amtrak didn't use the RTLs past 2000, or at least past 2003, despite refurbishing them.
It would be because of that one senator in New York. That one senator in New York became the president of Amtrak down the line, and he discontinued them. Like, Amtrak guy even did a video about it. Like, y'all remember Amtrak guy?
Yeah. Amtrak guy 365. Yep, heard of him.
Yes. Like, he did a video talking about them.
I mean, Amtrak guy 365 is actually a fan of Amtrak.
I know.
Well, yeah, it's in the channel name.
But y'all can agree with me that Amtrak need to do more. You know what I mean?
They need to get more funding first.
Exactly.
Imagine if Brightline could expand nationwide just like Amtrak did. Amtrak could
that's the thing that I'm, one, interested in, but also don't advise for per se, because you don't want Brightline, or at least one company like Brightline, to get too large, because then they have too many sections or regions to focus on, and then they start to have less and less time and dedication to certain parts of the country, and overall quality goes down. Mm-hmm. That's a problem we're seeing with the Class 1 freight railroads. They require so much land and so much territory that they're forced to make cuts across the country in order to maintain what they have.
I know. I know. I'm sorry, wife. But to be honest, guys, like, we need multiple companies. And the thing is that what did one president, I think one of our greatest president is, Teddy Roosevelt. I think Teddy Roosevelt was one of our greatest presidents because he literally trust busted companies for corruption, you know?
He was a progressive ahead of his time. We need to. I mean, he's a progressive, a classical progressive, because the progressives nowadays are regressives right now.
Agree. Penny Fan, do you agree with us?
No comments because live stream.
I know, but here, Jane, like, well, that's under right there. But Penny Fan, like, reason why I say Teddy Roosevelt would want to hit our greater president because he trust busted companies for corruption, like Standard Oil.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt did a great job.
Now, here one president that you might agree with me that was pretty bad. Eisenhower. Eisenhower was good as a military general, but he was bad as a president.
Yeah, I think the interesting about Eisenhower and the interstate system is that he actually set up the interstate system as a way to effectively mobilize or move a large amount of military equipment. And it was actually based on the study where if the U.S. were to move all of their military equipment from, let's say, Maine to the Mexican border, how long would it take to load everything? How long would it take to transport everything? And he figured out it would be way too long when compared to building a bunch of highways.
But funny thing is that what the car drifters wanted to make him think. In reality, it's the complete opposite. Trains are actually faster when you think about it in bulk. When you think about it individually, it's longer. And thing is that all that money, and I mean all the money that came from building the interstate and airports, was taken from the railroad and given to their competition and tax-free.
Eisenhower may be a bad president, but you know who's the worst president of the United States?
Who?
I told him a bunch of times. Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to play with you on that one, man.
I know. Woodrow Wilson is the one who started the Federal Reserve, not gonna lie.
To be
right
honest.
Now, the Federal...
But, yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole because we're talking about trains.
Yeah, true.
But let's be honest. Our government is actually the reason why our train system is so bad.
Or at least their lack of funding for the rail network.
That too.
Plus the lack of trust in the government, because most people right now don't trust the government anymore as they did now back then in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. But let's be honest. If we can get our rail system back, we can actually be able to trust our government again. You know? What thing is our rail system a key to get into the country fixed?
Well, you know, DC has a lot of things, has quote-unquote important things to do, but there are a bunch of do-not things, not gonna lie.
That's true, but...
I'm not sure if it's a matter of that, it's more a matter of trying to do a lot at the same time. Or at least too much at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Pensy Fan, I will bring it up. Like, there was another thing that Charleston used to have. We used to have a massive streetcar system back all the way up until the late 40s, early 52.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have, like, a massive streetcar system.
Yeah.
And the thing
in
is...
New York City at one point, they were actually the first streetcar system in North America. Nowadays, they've replaced them all with buses.
I know. And to be honest, we've seen how bad buses are. We've seen how bad it is. Pensy Fan 19. Pensy Fan 19.
Yeah. By the way, Pensy Fan is actually a fan of the Pennsylvania.
I know.
Pennsylvania
I'm out. We put in the Pensy Fan. I'm putting your link in the chat for your YouTube channel, by the way, bud.
The thing with my channel name is that it was initially based on a typo from an online railroad forum that I joined before YouTube called railroad.net, and I never noticed that it was a typo until later on, so I just left it. Although I did ask a lot of my subscribers in the poll before we reached 5,000 subs saying, hey, do you want me to change it to an accurate name with NC having 2 N's? And most of them said no, so I just kept the name.
Because it gives some identity to your channel, you know?
Yeah, it makes me stand out in a way.
Exactly. But yeah.
Pennsylvania. Oh, what about those New York Central fans? If there's a Pennsy fan, there's got to be some New York Central fan.
I've seen a Central fan or two, usually as a troller, but I've seen them around.
I agree. But
I'm actually good friends with someone who's a huge fan of the New York Central, funnily enough.
But yeah. Now, I will bring some stuff up about some stuff that I am thinking about. Is that, oh yeah, that is thunder. We're about to get the storm in a few minutes. But let me bring that up. Like, the thing is that, and most people don't realize it, but most of our cities have commuter rail system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, and it is raining outside. But I'll bring that up. This is what I'm going to bring up. Most of our big city and medium city used to have big commuter rails. Some of our small ones used to have interurban streetcar systems.
Interurbans are underrated. They need to be brought back.
Exactly. Heck, even interurban freight. Like, we used to have a whole bunch of interurban freight systems. You know what I mean about that? That another thing we need to bring back.
Oh, speaking of commuter rail systems, Tri-Rail is about to test their trains on the FEC main line.
Oh yeah, that right?
Wait, on the FEC main line or just to Miami Central?
I believe just Miami Central.
Yeah, because I've been a little bit confused about that because Tri-Rail was initially going to run commuter service on the FEC main line, and this was years before Brightline, by the way. And then Brightline announced that they want to do the same thing between starting off with Miami and Aventura, and then eventually go to, I guess, the Florida East Coast version of West Palm Beach. But I don't know if Brightline is going to split that with Tri-Rail, or if they'll run 2 different services that are not affiliated.
They're going to be running
that,
2
Brightline's
different
Aventura
services.
Platforms are low level, as if they're going to use the same stock as Tri-Rail. So that'll definitely be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that one good step ahead right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it big, you know? It big step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of testing trains, what happened to Amtrak? They say that they're gonna shift focus on the Miami International Airport. They're gonna start service or testing their trains.
They've been talking about that for a while, but I think the main issue was that the Silver Meteor and Silver Star didn't fit on the platforms. I think it was hanging out in the back crossing that went to the airport.
I've heard that they actually did that. They tested the trains, and the Silver Meteor and the Silver Star could fit just fine.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
did
did.
to a length reduction, but yeah, whatever results in better rail service, I'm all for it. Especially in the Miami region.
Yeah, now they know that the Amtrak trains fit. They have to change the order of the Amtrak trains. They have to do a double header.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I think what they're going to do is the new Amtrak sets. To be honest.
Yeah. And that's where the Siemens Charger plays in.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I think. Sorry.
That's going to be a game changer. The Siemens Charger could actually fit in the Miami Airport station, no doubt about it.
That's especially a good point in terms of Amtrak, because Amtrak, funnily enough, mentioned starting their own intercity service from Miami to Orlando, Tampa, and
PO90, PO89 it passed. PO 89 just passed my house.
Oh, nice.
Yep,
PO
he
89. Is that
the Palmetto.
Amtrak?
Amtrak
Yeah,
Palmetto.
The Palmetto.
He is 2 hours late.
Where's the wait? Did the Amtrak 90 did Amtrak 97 actually cross your house or something? That's just been hours away.
Well, PO 97 don't pass until around 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay. Or Amtrak 98.
Amtrak 98 should have already passed, meaning he running late too.
Oh, okay.
Meaning he'll probably won't be by for another hour or so if he running late. Meaning he late too. It's technically late after late train for the last couple of weeks.
Okay. So I want to talk about that. I've sent you a video in the American Rail Club mentioning of the American Freedom Train that happened in 1976.
Oh, I actually watched that video already, Brightline. That would be pretty good.
Yeah. They're thinking about it, bringing it back again in the 250th anniversary of independence, of our independence.
Oh,
Well, the
God.
thing that concerns me about that is that Ross Rawl, the guy behind the AFT, did consider something like that for the 21st century limit, for the turn of the millennium in 2000. But there was so much. He already had concept art by something like 1994, 96. But even with 4 years before the event, they said that they didn't have enough time to coordinate everything, get the equipment, get the engines, get the history pieces, and the thing was ultimately scrapped. And that was 4 years before the new millennium. We have less than 3 until 2026.
I know.
For the 250th of America. So that kind of concerns me as to whether everything is planned or not.
Who knows? They might, bring back one of the original steam engine that did it,
I mean, the best thing I could see happening is them repainting 4449 into the AFT livery, and maybe one other engine, but that's pretty much it.
I know.
Or maybe have them do an excursion service, but nothing as large as what we saw in 76.
Why not? They could actually borrow an engine from Amtrak. Well, that's going to be another problem because I believe Amtrak is facing equipment shortages.
Probably due to relocating more AM fleets from the Midwest to the Northeast regional. That's why I also feel with the shipment of the new Venture coaches and Aero sets, Amtrak shouldn't retire a single coach on the roster until they relocate them for new expanded passenger services on the Connexus map.
I know. That, to be honest, that was a dumb move from Amtrak. I'm going to bring it up. Amtrak could have saved an extra locomotive for extra new routes. That could have saved them so much time and money.
I think they're still saving them, though, because they can't really expand what they have now, but the newer engines will probably take over the existing services, and the older stuff like the Genesis and Horizon coaches will be trialed on new routes like New Orleans to Mobile.
Oh, yeah, to be honest, they've been testing one of the new locomotive on the new route in the Gulf.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And here, funny thing.
That's going to enter service or start service in the coming months, but I don't know if they have an official start date.
Here, Tippin, your guy going to find crazy, but with CPKC now being a chain with the merger happened, they are more friendlier to Amtrak than all the other class ones. So we're probably going to see even more Amtrak route popping up in the next couple of years.
I hope that's the case. I mean, I think that's probably the reason why Amtrak approved or was okay with the CPKC merger, because they agreed to let Amtrak run more passenger service. I think one of the main things was running a second train between Chicago and Minneapolis, which, considering CP's past with passenger rail, especially against No Transit in Toronto, it's kind of interesting to see that they've had a turn of heart in terms of passenger, because they usually gave Via Rail a lot of hassles when it came to expanding service. But it's nice to see that they're more friendly with passenger rail in the U.S. and Canada now.
Well, that because of their new CEO. Plus, someone cracked down on them too. Anyway, back in the day, you know. Now the railroad that is the most friendly with Amtrak was KCS.
And yet, funnily enough, they didn't have a single railroad that ran on their line.
I know,
Southern
Joe.
actually discontinued the Southern Bell in 1969, just before Amtrak formed, and they haven't brought it back since.
I know. To be honest, if they had kept it for one more year and let Amtrak had it, that would have been very good, you know?
Yeah, it would have still been here today.
To be honest, I think we should probably be seeing the Southern Bell come back in our lifetime, you know?
Yeah.
I think there was actually a Trump supporter that actually likes Amtrak, and I actually changed my username from Brightline fan to Make Amtrak Great Again.
That's
He's
fun.
like that. He said to me that that's the based name that I had ever heard in my entire lives. Heck, even the Trump haters liked it.
That one way to get stuff done, you know? Am I right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hopefully we can, in our lifetime, hopefully we can see commuter rail pop back up left and right into the country. And hopefully we can see our freight rail system get even better than it is now.
Yeah.
What did say the outfit, or when he did the video on why about U.S. freight railroad and calling them not as good as Sweden, he literally brought up a good point of why Switzerland freight railroads are superior. Like, y'all remember that?
Yes.
To be honest, he brought up a lot of good points. Like our freight rail system was a top of the world at one point, all the way up until the 60s, and then we started going down, you know? And that's the problem. We literally built everything for the car, and we got rid of everything that we needed. Am I right?
Yeah,
I think it's also a matter of the larger Class 1 roads favoring more heavier intermodal long distance trains rather than local and shunting work. That's why they're either giving them to a bunch of short lines or just straight up abandoning those branches.
Well, I noted.
They just want to carry what makes the most money, and that's definitely long haul intermodal trains.
Well, I noted that something have changed with CXX. With CXX getting rid of PSR, or what I see what is going on right now is that with CXX getting rid of PSR, they're bringing back old freight method and turning on their freight yards again. Y'all know what I mean? Like, they're trying to bring back old rail lines. They're actually bringing back old rail yards. So we might be slowly hitting rock bottom, but we're probably getting ready to start going right back up, you know?
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time. Time will tell.
Yeah. All right, I'm probably going to hop off the call and call down for dinner, but
Yeah.
it's great to be part of this call.
Yeah.
Kind of pull us off a little bit, but it's nice to see that all night. Good to be on this.
I see like the AI bright light, one of those AI pictures that I just made from a bright light train.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm probably getting ready to head to bed too because it's already 9:44 here. So yeah.
Same, bro.
Yeah. Talk to you all later.
Next week probably.
Yep. See y'all later.
Rock and roll.
See you later. Glad I can make it.
Bye, guys.
Rock and roll.
Bye.
Waifu.
See you later.
Day.
Mm-hmm.
Waifu. I'm your waifu. Hey, this is. Hey, Michael. What's up, man? What's up, man? Yeah, Michael.
Also,
Cursed Travis?
that. Do you know who that is?
No.
Jay Sean.
Hey, King Street boy.
but
Mr. King Street, baby.
yeah,
What's up, man? David, can we do the living with autism thing? That rock and roll,
Rock and roll.
dude. I'm your waifu. David did name it the waifu meme. Jeez.
That's true. But I hope y'all enjoyed the live stream. I hope everybody have a great week. I hope everybody judged it with interest and please like and subscribe. And
rock and roll.
I'll talk to y'all later.
Rock and roll.
Bye, guys, and have a nice night.
Sorry. This is not Boys with Autism, man.